It's going to be a busy, busy day in the world of local sports. Tigers in action, Grizzlies in action. Trade deadline in the NBA is a little more than 24 hours away. Will the Grizzlies do anything? We're here to talk about those stories and many, many other topics as we welcome you into Sports 56 Mornings on this Wednesday, February 5th, 2025. Greg Gaston, Eli Savoy, and Elijah Seeger is with you. We're broadcasting from the Family Leisure Studios. The preseason pool and patio sale underway now at Family Leisure. Spring is just around the corner. It's time to start thinking about your backyard entertainment and 2024 pricing on all above pools and patio furniture. So beat the rush. Get in line for your pool installation now. So many other things to take advantage of at Family Leisure. 2120 Whitten Road, just north of I-40. Not an ideal day today as far as the weather is concerned. 46 currently, little fog. Thunderstorms expected sometime later this morning. It'll give way to cloudy skies this afternoon with a high of 64, and then cloudy skies with a few showers after midnight tonight going into early Thursday morning. The low only dipping down to about 62. So rather warm, to be honest with you. Tomorrow, 71 for a high with sunshine after the early morning hour rain that's in the forecast. And then we have the wackiness of the weekend with a high Saturday possibly reaching 80. And on Sunday, your high only reaching 44 degrees. Coming up on the program today, as I mentioned, Tigers are in action at FedEx Forum. Grizzlies are north of the border in Toronto. We will talk about both those teams. We'll look at college basketball from last night, what happened around the nation, what happened in the SEC specifically. NBA trade deadline is tomorrow at 3 Central. There was another move yesterday, and other moves could be on the horizon. We got some football news as we get closer to Super Bowl 59 this Sunday from New Orleans. We will talk about that. And it looks like there's finally some movement on the renovations to FedEx Forum. We'll go over that story. Dave Mason will join us at 8:05 from Bet Online, his annual visit to talk about all the things gambling-wise you should know for Super Bowl 59. Jerry Palm at 8:25 with his latest bracketology at CBSSports.com. DeMichael Cole on the Grizzlies at 9:05. And then we'll talk Tigers basketball with Parthu Pajai from the Daily Memphian. That's at 9:25. Your calls and texts on these sissies, on the Sissies Log Cabin listener lines, 901-360-8255. That's your lineup for today. Should be a fun day today, I would imagine, Eli.
Yeah, sure.
Well, you got
everybody's in action today.
Everybody's in action, right? Those are the days that we like. It's boring when nobody's playing. You're looking for things to watch. And, last night was interesting because you had Ole Miss down the road from us here in Memphis playing Kentucky at the Pavilion. You had some very interesting NBA games that we'll talk about. And we will start with college basketball and that Ole Miss win. Number 25, Ole Miss. Number 14, Kentucky. Ole Miss was a 4.5-point favorite, I think, in this one. I loved Ole Miss in this game, and they did not disappoint. They routed Kentucky 98-84. Kentucky was just never in this game. Ole Miss improves to 17-6 and 6-4 in the SEC. Kentucky, all of a sudden, 4-5 in the SEC, 15-7 overall. The most amazing numbers from this game, and this is just mind-boggling. The Rebels dished out 24 assists and had one turnover.
Yeah, it was a fantastic performance by Ole Miss. The first half was just absolutely amazing what they did, just grabbing control of that game up by 23. Offensively, that's as well as Ole Miss can play, I believe, what they did in the first half. I mean, shooting over 60% from the field, over 50% from three. I don't know that I've ever seen a team with only one turnover in a college game. That's put up 98 points and only one turnover is pretty incredible. I mean, they are best in the nation at taking care of the basketball, but one turnover is just a remarkable number.
I've never seen that.
With that playing at that pace.
Exactly. Scoring nearly 100 points and turning the ball over one time. I've never seen anything like that. I tweeted something out or retweeted something if I could find it. The one turnover by Ole Miss is the least amount by an SEC team in a conference game over the past 25 seasons. That's incredible. Then you had the balanced scoring. Matthew Morrell led the way with 24, but Dre Davis had 17, Malik D had 16, Jalen Murray had 15. That was a great performance. You would have to think if somebody asked Chris Beard, I don't know, I wasn't at the presser, I didn't hear the presser, but I wonder if he believes that was the best performance of the year by his Rebels, by his team, because they were absolutely dynamite. So nice win for Ole Miss. Kentucky coming off the rails a little bit, off the rails after that loss to Arkansas, thrown back a little bit by what Calipari and Arkansas did to them, and just never recovered for their game last night in Oxford. Elsewhere in the SEC, number 6 Florida over Vandy, 86-75. And number 1 Auburn just keeps on keeping on. They beat Oklahoma 98-70.
Yeah, just ho-hum for them. Janai Broom didn't have to do a whole lot. They just kind of took care of business. Just an easy night of taking care of business for Auburn.
Easy night of taking care of business against an Oklahoma team that just beat Vanderbilt by 30. They win by 28. Around the nation, real good one in the Big East. We talked a lot yesterday about Rick Pitino. You can not like the guy, the human being, whatever your reasons are. You cannot deny that he is one of the greatest coaches to ever man a sideline, to man a bench, to run a program, or programs in this case. 70-64 St. John's over Marquette. They lead the Big East. People, I remember when his name had surfaced, they were like, what? Rick Pitino? The guy can flat out coach. Number 7, Purdue rallied, beat Iowa in the Big Ten, 90-81. Texas Tech has been on absolute fire. 13th ranked in the nation, beat Baylor 73-59. That's a very good team that nobody's talking about, that Red Raiders team.
Yeah, it's a couple. Obviously, the win over Houston, a massive win, and to follow that up and get them. I mean, they're a top 10 team in KenPom. I mean, they're ranked number 9 in his rankings. That's another really good Big 12 team. The Big 12, last few years maybe has been the best conference in America. It's not that this year with what the SEC is doing, but the Big 12 is still pretty darn good.
As far as the net rankings are concerned, Memphis still sitting at number 42. Auburn has won, Duke 2, Houston 3, Tennessee 4, Florida 5. That's your top 5 in the net. Houston did win last night over Oklahoma State by the score of 72-63. Tonight, the Memphis Tigers will host the Tulsa Golden Hurricane. The Tigers come in having won 5 straight games. They're 18-4. Tulsa is 9-13. P.J. Haggerty goes up against his former team, where he was the American Freshman of the Year last year for the Golden Hurricane. Also, yesterday, it was announced that Haggerty has been named one of the top 10 finalists for the Jerry West Award, which is given to the nation's best guard, and he certainly has a chance to win it. I mean, a good chance to win it. Obviously, he's 1 in 10 chances, but he has a really good chance. I looked at the list. I see what's there. Haggerty's numbers as good as anybody.
Yeah, I mean, he's one of the top scorers in the nation. That certainly gets people's attention, and he's been terrific. So good for him to be in that top 10. We'll see if he's able to win it. But, yeah, I mean, certainly when you're is he still? I think he's number 2 in the nation in scoring still.
Number 2.
When you're number 2 in the nation in scoring, that gives you a chance to win a lot of awards.
You would think. So the Grizzlies, or the Tigers at home, the Grizzlies on the road in Toronto, where they will play the American national anthem, the U.S. national anthem, along with the Canadian national anthem, and they will probably boo once again when they hear the Star-Spangled Banner. It is what it is. But the Grizzlies will go out and play a Raptors team that is not good. They're 16-33. The Grizzlies will come in at 34-16. The Grizzlies have after this. 3 more games, I believe, before the All-Star break, including Saturday's home game against Oklahoma City. They had a bunch of good news yesterday. First of all, for the rookies, Zach Edey and Jalen Wells, we already knew that they were invited to play in the Rising Stars games out in San Francisco, All-Star Weekend. Well, we found out yesterday they'll actually play together for Team Chris Mullen. Edey and Wells will play together on that team. So that's cool. And here's even better news. As we talked about yesterday with the injury list, the latest, Marcus Smart, Vince Williams Jr., both upgraded now to questionable. They went from doubtful to questionable. So should we expect to see them tonight?
Yeah. What
they did it all but one time. They threw the curveball at you the one time.
No, but when they do the upgrades, when you go from doubtful, questionable, they always play in the questionable game.
I didn't expect them both to be back at the same time. Didn't we keep hearing, Vince was way ahead of Marcus?
Well, they both kind of they had gone. Originally, the word report was that Vince looked like Vince was ahead, but then they kind of moved Vince back to week, and they were both kind of week to week, so you didn't know when they were exactly going to be back, and we weren't getting any other updates. So, it seemed for a while there like Vince was ahead, but then they had that one time where they kind of it pushed Vince back a little bit to the week to week, and so good to see though that I would assume both will be in action tonight.
Brandon Clark is questionable as well. Des Bain is out. So it's not the full array, but it's getting close to the full array of players, and we'll see what Taylor Jenkins does as far as rotation, how he is able to integrate those 2 injured players who are back and, again, seemingly ready to play again. What will he do as far as minutes are concerned with those guys? The Raptors, by the way, played last night and lost to the Knicks. They did play at home, though, 121-115. R.J. Barrett was out, so not sure if he'll be back today for the game tonight against the Grizzlies, but the Grizzlies and Toronto. Now, the trade front. We have till 3 o'clock Central tomorrow.
2 o'clock.
2 o'clock Central tomorrow. So even shorter. Grizzlies have not done anything, but their name has surfaced for a number of different players. Early on with the Cameron Johnson speculation, you heard the Grizzlies. Jimmy Butler, obviously, you heard the Grizzlies, and you also heard Jimmy Butler say he doesn't want to go to Memphis or anywhere else, really, to be honest with you. He just wants to go to Phoenix. But then yesterday, Lonzo Ball's name surfaced. The Chicago Bulls guard, who I thought was pretty darn good before he was derailed by injuries and hadn't played for a couple of years, basically, before returning this year and now playing again for Chicago. Does Lonzo Ball do anything for you?
I'm fine with Lonzo Ball. I like him as a player. If he can stay healthy, that certainly is the gigantic question surrounding him. But obviously, he's been back and seemingly healthy at this point. But to add depth and that type of stuff, I don't have a problem with Lonzo Ball. Not real high on my list of guys I'm like, got to go get him, but I wouldn't hate Lonzo Ball by any means.
He's 27 years old. He's got great size. He's 6'6". Currently averaging 7.2 points, 3.4 rebounds, 3.5 assists. Only shoots 36.2% from the field. Yes, this is not a game changer. Where he would fall into the rotation, he's not going to be a starter. And who they would have to give up are questions I don't have the answers to. Elijah Seegers, the third member of our broadcast team. Does Lonzo Ball do anything for you?
I like the pickup. I think that he would match the style of play the Grizzlies want to run. I think that he has a playmaking element that the Grizzlies can really feed off of. But with that being said, I don't think that they should leverage any of their current young guys for a guy like Lonzo Ball who's hit or miss with injury. That's just me, though. I still think that he's a good player and he still has good to give, but I wouldn't do it personally.
Yeah, what do you got to give up for him? You don't have to give up much, but you're going to have to give up one of those young players.
I have no idea what it would be. It certainly wouldn't be a whole lot.
Maybe it's a Conchar thing, a Conchar and a pick. I don't know what Chicago, how they look at Lonzo Ball for the future. Now, again, the guy's been injured. Knock on wood for him that he's able to remain healthy now that since he's come back, but he missed a couple of seasons. I don't know. Again, that's just out there. He was also connected to the Detroit Pistons, the Minnesota Timberwolves, some other teams as well. Again, just rumorville right now, but things are going to absolutely heat up today. We did have a deal yesterday. Dallas once again in the middle of it. Caleb Martin is going to Dallas from Philadelphia for Quentin Grimes and a second-round pick. That's the only thing I believe that went down yesterday.
Yeah, I think so. Obviously, Dallas continuing to make moves and try and satisfy their fan base by winning because fans are not exactly happy there, so they're making moves and going to try and put a winning team out there. They have fallen all the way out of the play-in now with their loss last night. They're down to 11th in the West, so and fans are actually apparently demanding refunds on season tickets, and they're giving them to them. So Dallas needs to start winning some games to try and win their fans back over.
Yeah, and finally we had the presser for Luka. Not finally, it's only been a couple of days, but we had the Luka press conference, and Anthony Davis had his things to say, and then even Kyrie Irving spoke. So we had a lot of people associated with either the trade or with those teams that have come out and spoke, LeBron James as well. LeBron James saying he thought the Luka AD trade was a hoax. Kyrie Irving said he's grieving about the trade. He says, miss my hermano, which I imagine is what, friend? Or I thought that was amigo. But anyway, he spoke out very positively about the relationship he had with Luka, but said he's ready to move forward. Anthony Davis said he was extremely taken back by the trade, surprised by the trade, but now that's in the rearview mirror. It's time to get going and get this Dallas team into the playoffs. And Lucas said all the right things in his press conference. He's excited about being with the organization he called the best organization in the NBA. He was, again, shocked. It's still overall stunning to everybody that in this day and age, with all the leaks that are possible, that trade, no information got out, very little as far as people knowing, had any idea that this was going to go down, and then it was broken where nobody believed Shams that the report was true. They thought he was either hacked or it was a fake account, and then it went down. So that was one for the ages, especially in 2025 with social media.
The Hermano, by the way, is brother.
Yeah, I knew Amigo's friend. So
can we talk about Rob Pelinka's outfit yesterday? What is that jacket? What are we doing here, Rob Pelinka? This is a press conference.
I know
it's Hollywood.
He's at the club, man.
I know it's Hollywood, but come on, seriously. And I listen. I'm not hip. I don't know. But come on, like this is a press conference. Introduce your new player. I'm not sure that. I just that jacket look. I just don't. I can't get it. I can't get on board with that one.
I did a double take. I swear. I looked at it and I went, "Is that Rob Pelinka?" Yeah, it's him. I don't know. It was a throwback to a night at the Roxbury, I believe.
You know, every time I see Rob Pelinka, I always think if Rob Lowe ever starts aging, that's who Rob Pelinka looks like. But Rob Lowe don't age. Like Rob Lowe's actually older than him, and Rob Lowe just still looks like he's 30. But if Rob Lowe ever finally lets himself go and starts aging, he will evolve into Rob Pelinka.
That's pretty funny. Fun fact, Rob Lowe is actually 127 years old. Nobody knows that.
You could tell me that, and I would believe. But he literally has looked the same since I can remember Rob Lowe being in anything. For 30 years or whatever, Rob Lowe has not changed one bit.
No.
It's amazing. I'm like, I don't know how you do this stuff.
Another guy,
and he doesn't look like he's not one of those Hollywood people like you're like, oh my God, he's had a ton of
he had
work
cosmetic
done.
surgery.
His face looks terrible because you can tell. Rob Lowe just looks exactly the same forever.
Right, he'll throw in an Atkins shake.
I think he's like a wax figure or something. I don't know. I just always amaze him. How in the world can you look the same for 30, 40 years?
Yeah, another guy who's not as extreme as Rob Lowe, but hasn't aged much either is Stamos. He looks the same too. He looks like he's back in his days of Full House. But yeah, Rob Lowe is a freak, man. That dude is unbelievable.
But he also knows he can look at Rob Pelinka and go, "That's what I'll look like if I start aging. I'm not going to allow that to happen."
Well, he won't wear that jacket at least. But anyway, so Lucas said all the right things. All the right things were said. But so now you have everybody's entitled to their opinion. Shaquille O'Neal's come out, and he basically said the Mavs won the trade. So there's the guy. I was waiting for one to hear say the Mavs won the trade. Now, he said maybe in the future, down the road, maybe the Lakers did. But for now, for the next couple of years, the Mavs won the trade. Because AD and his defensive prowess is now in Dallas, and there's a void in Los Angeles. Of course, the Lakers are looking to make a move here to bring in a defensive big. But that's Shaq's opinion. A couple other former NBA players have said that. So now I'm starting to hear more opinions going the way of Dallas. And for whatever reason, like every NFL player on ESPN or Fox has to have an opinion of the Luka trade. And they all seem to – they're all blown away. But again, the trend is now to Dallas. And I don't get it. I just don't understand what they're saying. Shaq has forgotten more basketball than I'll ever know. And being, the guy he was, great offensive player, great defensive player. Davis is the same way. He's a two-way player extraordinaire. It's nothing against Anthony Davis. It's just you're taking away a top 3 player who, by the way, I saw this story yesterday. ESPN, who's the kid Hembo? Who's the guy who comes up with the stats? Is it Hembo on ESPN? Mm-hmm. He had the stats of the postseason and the misnomer that Luka Doncic can't play defense. The numbers indicated that, and I don't have the numbers in front of me, but one-on-one, man-to-man coverage in the playoffs of perimeter players, he stacked way up there as far as defending. Now, there's a lot of reasons that can come into play with that. Who knows? But this was strictly one-on-one, man-on-man, no help defense. I don't think he's a great defensive player by any stretch of the imagination. But I don't think he's the joke that people say. Yes, you're losing a lot in Anthony Davis, but you're talking about a franchise-type player that is now going to take the reins from LeBron in a year or two when LeBron finally retires and be the face of the Lakers. And Dallas, they better strike quickly. It better happen for them this year or next year, or that trade is going to cost that GM his job. So again, everybody's entitled to an opinion. We'll see what happens. Nobody knows until they're actually on the floor. And they're coming back soon, right? Davis expected to play the next game for Dallas? That's what I heard.
Yeah, he's not supposed to be out very long, so I don't know exactly if it's going to be the next game or what. But, yeah, I mean, he should be back. And they believe, the thought was that Luka would be back before the All-Star break. That's what Dallas's kind of plan was with him. So I would assume that we will see him for the Lakers here very, very soon. I mean, like you can make the case that certainly in the short term, like Dallas, by improving right now, you can make the case that Dallas did. Again, the thing with Dallas, I mean, you gave up a face of your franchise. And again, the fact that they didn't want to pay him $345 million, well, I mean, if you weren't going to be willing to pay him that, well, then moving him is it such a bad idea? And obviously, again, they weren't willing to pay him that for whatever reason. So, but for the future, there's no doubt that getting Luka is the better side of it, and especially if you're the Lakers, because you don't have to pay him the $345 million. You get to pay him $229 million, so it's a little bit different. But as far as the long term, there's no doubt that Luka is the better player. He's 6 years younger, and he's one of the top 3 or 4 or 5 players in the league.
Well, if this was strictly financial, I'd love to know. He's not going to say that, the GM, but I'd love to know because you can rationalize that. Yeah, we just can't pay the Supermax. Okay, you have a lot of money, and that guy is a franchise player, so there's that argument. But, okay, that's the way you want to go. New ownership, bought out Mark Cuban. You want to go cheap? That's fine. But don't throw me all this other crap about why the move was made. It was strictly financial, okay. But I don't think it was. You know, Charles Barkley has said some things like that they just didn't have the confidence that Luka could lead them.
That's the thing.
They were in the NBA Final last year.
I mean, it's not strictly financial, but it is the other things go into the financials because of their concerns over conditioning or whatever. Means we don't want to commit to him $345 million over 5 years.
Again, these franchises are making money hand over fist, and you have a guy who could be your face for the next decade. You trade him. All right. Like I said, when this news came down and we had the story on Monday about this shocking news that I'll eat crow, and a lot of people will eat crow if it turns out that Dallas wins this trade. We won't know for a while. We need to take a time out.
We'll know in the next couple of years because again, if Dallas doesn't win a title,
right,
they'll have lost.
Well, that's
the
what
trade.
I said, and he'll lose his job. But that's a couple of years. We won't know next week. Is basically the point. All right, we'll take a time out. Come back. This is Sports 56 Mornings with Greg and Eli on Real Sports Talk. Sports 56 98.5 FM.
We are Real Sports Talk. Sports 56 WHBQ. Available on your radio dial at 560 AM and 98.5 FM, as well as around the world online at sports56whbq.com. Take us with you everywhere by downloading the Sports 56 app. And at home, just say, Alexa, play Sports 56.
If wedding bells are in your future, you need an unforgettable engagement ring from a jeweler you can trust. And that's been James Gaddis Jewelers for over 60 years. With a huge selection and the best prices, James Gaddis is a master jeweler and diamondologist. Beautiful jewelry from James Gaddis is always the right choice. Choose from rings to earrings, necklaces to bracelets, and gemstones to watches. Layaway and financing available. James Gaddis Jewelers, 4900 Poplar, online at GaddisJewelers.com, and Instagram at Gaddis Jewelers. Say I do at James Gaddis Jewelers.
This ain't the little itty-bitty teeny-tiny bowl, it's the Super Bowl. Get in on the action at DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of Super Bowl 59. New DraftKings customers can bet $5 to get $200 in bonus bets instantly. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and the code is HEARD for new customers to get $200 in bonus bets instantly when you bet just $5. Only on DraftKings Sportsbook. The crown is yours.
Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly. On behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort in Kansas. 21 plus age and eligibility varies by jurisdiction. Void in Ontario. New customers only. Bonus bets expire 168 hours after issuance. For additional terms and responsible gaming resources, see dkng.co/audio.
Nestled in the heart of East Memphis, located corner of Park and Cherry, is a beautiful residential neighborhood. I'm here at Town Village Audubon Park interviewing a new resident, Carolyn. Share with us why you chose Town Village.
Well, if your parents or special friends need to make that big move, let me share with you my experience. It was tough for me to leave home, but then I discovered Town Village. I would like to highly recommend Town Village to you and your loved ones. After looking at all the amenities and meeting all the people and the staff, I was hooked. From restaurant, bistro, 3 meals per day, housekeeping, transportation, security, health care, physical therapy,
like home, Town Village.
Sports 56 traffic.
Good morning. A couple of accidents being cleared up out here. One on 240 westbound near Getwell, and it caused a pretty good backup over here. And then they crashed on 240 westbound right near Mount Moriah. Now, this is affecting that traffic coming off 385 Bill Morris Parkway as you get onto 240 west there, just trying to get past that crash there at Mount Moriah. Hey, if your lawn needs a little bit of help this time of the year, call Lawn Solutions. With 30 years experience, Lawn Solutions, that number is 901 area code 867-5626. I'm Commander Chuck with your on-time traffic.
Now back to Sports 56 morning on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM. Here once again, Greg Gaston and Eli Savoy.
Welcome back, everyone. 7:31 is the time. Talking plenty of basketball here on this Wednesday morning. Tigers in action tonight against Tulsa at FedEx Forum. Grizzlies on the road in Toronto against the Raptors. The trade deadline tomorrow at 2 o'clock Central.
Hustle in action tonight, too.
Oh, are they?
Don't short the Hustle.
Well, I didn't know. Who they play?
They play Iowa again.
Oh, gosh. Let's get a bet down real quick. Come on, let's find a book that has a bet. You can bet on the Hustle. You can bet on G League games. Iowa's not improved in the last 2 days, I don't believe, right?
I don't believe so. But I don't know. I'm not sure yet if I assume the Hustle will still have, with everybody getting healthy, I would assume they have Yuki and Zion Poland, but I don't know that for sure.
Okay. So Kevin Durant was downgraded to doubtful for his game with Phoenix as the trade talks swirl for KD. So all of a sudden now, there is the possibility that Durant could be dealt. And is there a chance in your mind that KD could reconnect with Steph Curry in San Francisco?
Well, if you believe all the reporting out there, that there is a thought that the Warriors are kind of in a situation here. They may decide to take a huge swing before the deadline tomorrow. They have been very reluctant to move guys like Kuminga and some of their young players, but they could be. They could decide to really make a big swing, and who knows who that is they get rid of, and who knows who that is they go after. But Kevin Durant is one. The Suns are in a situation where they're in kind of no man's land because if Bradley Beal's not going to waive his no trade clause, you're kind of just stuck. You've got a team that's not very good. You can't trade Beal because he won't go. So if you want to make some sort of changes and do something, Durant becomes the guy. You're not going to trade Booker. Booker's the young guy. So that maybe they do decide to move Kevin Durant. And so I don't know. It could be. I mean, it may end up being a just completely fascinating trade deadline tomorrow. Like we get just pure craziness. That this kind of Luka move has just thrown everybody for a loop, and now all of a sudden, all kinds of crazy things start happening. I don't know what there. It seems like there's a lot of possibilities. Who knows how many of those end up happening?
Jimmy Butler is becoming now an A-list villain in the eyes of many people with his demands. Only wants to go to Phoenix. I would imagine that one of the reasons he would want to go to Phoenix is to play with Kevin Durant. They trade KD, and then Beal would probably be involved. He would have to waive the no clause, like you said, the no trade clause. Then he would be going to Phoenix with Devin Booker.
Well, it might be a Kevin Durant trade that brings Butler there. I mean, it might be a part of that.
Yeah, but I think
without Beal,
I can't speak for Butler, but I would think one of the what's attractive to Phoenix, the dry weather, the dry heat. No, what's attractive would be Kevin Durant playing with Kevin Durant and Devin Booker. I can't speak for the guy, but I would think that would be one of the reasons why he wants to go to Phoenix. And if they deal Durant, then again, Butler's being a jerk. Let's be honest. And it limits what Pat Riley can do with him. If not, he's an albatross. You know, he's not going to be able to help that team. So they're in a wait-and-see mode right now. Their season's in the balance. And for Golden State, who sits right now barely in the 10th spot in the West, you're right. It's you either swing for the fences or you blow it up. Because you're not getting better and you're not getting younger. Steph's not getting younger. Draymond's not getting younger. You've already gotten rid of Klay Thompson. So you're either going to – it's a last hurrah swing to keep, what was the dynasty going or not. Or you step back a couple of yards, you take the snap, and you punt the ball away.
Well, again, the Suns and Warriors are both in a situation with aging superstars, and you're not very good. So you got to decide what direction are we headed. Like, just writing this out doesn't make a whole lot of sense. So if you're the Warriors, you say you can either go, we're going to take one last swing and try and get a Durant, or you start unloading, a guy like Draymond or who, I don't think Curry's going to get, certainly not traded now. Wouldn't believe so.
They say he's the only untouchable.
Luka got traded, so I don't say anything's impossible. But they could start just kind of dismantling it at this point. I don't know. And they've got decisions to make. Again, if they're willing to part with Kuminga, that certainly would open up a lot of doors for them. That's the guy that pretty much every team, I think, wants from them. But you got like a guy like Wiggins with a big contract that could be, if you're going to go the other way. There's a lot of different ways, and them obviously the Jimmy Butler thing, Phoenix, those will kind of be the ones that probably dictate most of what happens, because there's massive contracts there that could be moved, and they would need other teams probably to get involved, and that kind of just sets the whole thing in motion. And obviously the Lakers are looking for a big, but as Rob Lowe Pelinka said yesterday, that the market is dry for bigs. There's not much out there. So what are they? Who are they able to go? I mean, they're playing really well now into the 5th spot, but they need a big, and there just may not be any available. So, like I said, it could be a really fun day tomorrow where all kinds of stuff start happening, or maybe it just doesn't ever work out because some of these contracts are too big, and these teams are unwilling to somebody move off of those or move on to some of those contracts.
I realize Butler currently plays in the East, but doesn't it seem like every year we get to the trade deadline, it's always chaos in the West? It never seems to be in the East. It's always like every team in the West could be doing something, could be closing shop and have a fire sale, or could be swinging for the fences. Maybe it's me because we cover a team that's in the West, but it seems like the West is always chaotic and the East is, it's pretty calm as far as deals are concerned. All right, this has nothing to do with the trade. This has nothing to do with the trade deadline, but the 34-year-old son of NBA great Michael Jordan, Marcus Jordan, was arrested in the Orlando area on a misdemeanor drug charge after police officers found his car, a Lamborghini, stuck on railroad tracks minutes before a commuter train was scheduled to pass. Jordan was charged with possession of cocaine, a second-degree misdemeanor, and resisting an officer without violence, also a misdemeanor, according to online court records. He tried to give the old, "my father is Michael Jordan" bit, and people took to social media and blasted him. And then I responded by saying, who wouldn't do that? Who wouldn't do that? If your father was Michael Jordan, would you not say that to the police to try to get out of it? Elijah?
Well, maybe he should.
Your father was Michael Jordan?
He should have stopped in the first place and not ran from them. And then, if he's just stopped in the first place to try and use it.
Well, he was out of his mind. He was on coke, probably. But again, if you're arrested and your father's Michael Jordan, don't you use the old "Michael Jordan's my father" line every single time?
Hey, it's certainly worth a try.
I mean,
it's
come
certainly
on.
worth a try to see if it does something for you.
I mean, people are out of their mind if they don't think you should try that. No harm, no foul. No foul, no harm. Either
Even
one.
If Michael Jordan isn't your dad, you can try it.
You can try. You're gonna swing and miss. But this one, in this case, actually, it was, and it is his father. That's also the Jordan that played against Memphis when he played at UCF, and also the Jordan who, for a couple of years, dated Scottie Pippen's ex-wife, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, is that Scottie Pippen Jr.'s mom?
Mm-hmm.
Man, this is a wide, crazy world. Not wide, but wild.
Marcus
Crazy
is an
world.
idiot. Marcus Jordan's just an idiot.
Well, he is an idiot.
He just is a...
But again, using your dad's name right there was not idiotic. That was the right thing to do. At least try. I mean, again, if you're not going to try that, you're not going to try anything. But it's not. In this case, it's the truth. Sure, your father's my father's Michael Jordan. He's MJ. He's Air Jordan. I can get you a pair of those Air Jordans. Now, you don't try bribes.
Now, Michael might not claim him, but yes, he is. Michael is his dad.
He may not claim him. You're right. All right. When we come back, news on renovations. It's been a while since we've heard any news about the renovations to FedEx Forum. Mayor Paul Young from the city of Memphis yesterday had some things to say. We'll talk about that when we return. We'll take your calls and texts on the Sissy's Log Cabin listener lines at 901-360-8255. And then we are loaded with guests. Dave Mason at 8:05 from Bet Online. Jerry Palm at 8:25. The Michael Cole from the Commercial Appeal at 9:05, and Parthu Pajai from the Daily Memphian at 9:25.
The thing of the Jordan story, he had to be crossing the railroad tracks, not at a crossing. He had to be just driving over because he was he was stuck in rocks and dirt.
Exactly.
So I don't understand where was he trying to cross these tracks? Drugs are a wonderful thing.
Yes,
I don't even I would love to see where exactly he was, what his path was to get to where he was trying to cross these tracks.
I just watched one of those Datelines or 48 Hours in the last week, and the dude murdered somebody. The cops found this car with the guy in it trying to cross the railroad tracks, not at the intersection or whatever, trying to do what Marcus Jordan was attempting to do, and he got stuck. But they didn't pick up right away that was the murderer, and he went off and all that, and they ended up. In the end, they got him, but very similar situation. Folks, if you are a basketball player, you know somebody who's a basketball player, you have a family member who's a basketball player, especially for you pops out there, you grandfathers, you have kids and grandchildren that like to play the game of basketball, and they want to become better at doing so, and they want to have fun doing so. Well, then, Shoot 360 Memphis is for you. You can take your basketball skills to the next level, and I mean that. It's a revolutionary basketball training facility that combines cutting-edge technology with gamification, so you're having fun while getting better, and you get that instant objective feedback from that coaching panel that they have, expert array of coaches who have been around the game for a long, long time, and they'll go one-on-one with your sons, your daughters, your grandsons, your granddaughters, anybody in your family who plays basketball and, again, is looking to improve in that sport. They have a new Cordova facility, 50,000 square foot facility, 2 NBA regulation size courts, 3 high school size courts, 4 shooting bays with Shoot 360 technology. So for you coaches out there, again, you're looking for a place to bring your team, to practice, to get better. Individuals looking to bring a loved one or give them a special birthday gift or a graduation present. Get them a membership to Shoot 360 Memphis. They're in Cordova, as I mentioned. The number to call, you can ask any questions. They'll answer them for you. They'll give you a tour if that's what you like, and I suggest you ask for a tour. Come by and see them in Cordova at 901-779-3176. That's the number to call to set up that tour today, 901-779-3176, or in Collierville at 901-316-5500. Again, you can just stop by. I would say call, set up a tour, and then go see them in Cordova or in Collierville. You can become a member at both locations or one or the other. And you can do so online by going to Shoot 360 Memphis. Monthly memberships now available. That's the way to go. Sign up for a month, see what you think. I'm telling you, you're going to fall in love with it, and you're going to sign up for more months. But if you don't like it, no big deal. You only invested for a month. But you're going to see something you've never seen before with the facilities, with the modern analytics that they use, the modern technology that they have at Shoot 360 Memphis. The future of basketball training is here. It's Shoot 360 Memphis. You're tuned into Sports 56 Mornings with Greg and Eli on Real Sports Talk, Sports 56 and 98.5 FM.
I'm Gary York. I'm the service director of Lexus in Memphis. Our service department wants to be more than just a place where you get your oil changed. We do glass repair, windshield replacement, recalibration of your camera and sonar systems, even wheel repair, tire replacement, all the things you would expect from a luxury automotive dealer. Please check out our website. You can schedule your appointment, check out our specials, hours of operation, or if you'd like to do it in person, please reach out to one of our associates at 901-271-5199.
Are you a chronic interrupter? Incapable of letting other people talk? Do those people ask, how do you sleep at night? Then you should go to Mattress Firm. They have a 120-night sleep trial, so you can get your money back if a bed's not right. That way anyone, even someone like you, can sleep. Get Match on Mattress Firm. Sleep at night. Restrictions apply. See store website for details.
Napa Cafe celebrates 26 years in 2024. Hi, I'm Glenda Hastings, owner of Napa Cafe, and I want to thank you for making us part of your dining experiences. If you are a first-time guest or have dined with us countless times, I want to thank you for making us part of your lives. Whether you're celebrating with the crowd or planning a cozy date night on the town, Napa Cafe can provide you an extraordinary evening. We have 5 dining rooms, including our private wine cellar, our Jan's room for 2 guests, and the Eleanor room for parties up to 60. Sit back, relax, and celebrate. Leave the cooking to us. Come see me at Napa Cafe, 5101 Sanderlin Avenue. We're open Wednesday through Saturday for dinner starting at 5 o'clock. We also offer curbside pickup from our full menu. For details on our stay-in, dine-out menu or reservations, visit our website at napacafe.com. Come join us as we celebrate 26 years of Napa Cafe in 2024. We can't wait to serve you.
Now back to Sports 56 Mornings. Good morning on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM. Here once again, Greg Gaston and Eli Savoy.
Welcome back, everybody. We'll get to the story about FedEx Forum and renovations here in just a moment. I know we're still a ways away from the NFL draft, but I'm looking at a lot of mocks here recently, Eli, and it looks like the trend now is for the Titans at number 1 to take Abdul Carter. And when we had the conversation, the Titans were talking about, obviously they got a new GM coming in, but they talked about generational player, and the quick thought was, well, it's Travis Hunter, right? Abdul Carter, I don't know about a generational player, but he's the best defensive lineman, maybe best defensive player on the board. So that's a possibility that they could go that route, because if you're not enamored with Cam Ward or Shadur Sanders or any other quarterback, why take one just because you have the number 1 pick? Or trade down if you're not enamored with Abdul Carter or somebody else. But I think Carter would be a solid pick at number 1, to be honest with you.
Carter's a special talent. I mean, a lot of people are going to make the natural comparison to Micah Parsons coming out of Penn State, wearing the same number, all of that stuff. I mean, and plays a lot like him. And so certainly, if a team picking at number 1 doesn't, necessarily isn't desperate for a quarterback, he certainly would make a lot of sense. And obviously, pass rushers are very much sought after in the NFL, just like quarterbacks. And if you get a dominant pass rusher, it could make a massive difference. And he looks like a dominant pass rusher. A couple of texts here. We did get one text that said, can you imagine Ja's dad and Lonzo's dad on the sideline?
Yeah, somebody tweeted that out yesterday. I laughed when I saw that.
Raider Corey says, if it's not Cam Johnson, please don't make a move just to make a move. Team's playing well with good chemistry, finally getting healthy at the right time. We don't need first-round picks. I don't think the Grizzlies are, going to be just making a move to make a move per se. But yeah, I mean, at this point with where they are, they have to be looking at moves. Does it put us closer to winning a championship? That should be any move they make. Does it put us closer to winning a championship?
Absolutely. I agree wholeheartedly with Corey. Don't make a move just to make a move. Are you making a move to make you better, to give you a better chance to win it all? That's all you're thinking about right now. Obviously, you're not looking to do anything that is basically even Steven, because then you could possibly ruin the chemistry. You bring in somebody from the outside. That could happen. That could backfire. I just don't think they're going to do anything big, which is much to the chagrin of some people. But I don't think they're going to do anything that's going to bring in a rotation player. I don't. Lonzo Ball might be rumored out there. I wouldn't be shocked if that was the move. But I think it's going to be a little move if they make anything, because I don't think they're going to make any type of major blockbuster trade. They just don't do those type of trades. I know you want them to get Cam Johnson. A lot of people want them to get Cam Johnson. I'd love to have Cam Johnson, but I don't know if they're willing to part with a bunch of their young talent. We'll see. We'll see here soon. Couple other notes from the NFL. Pete Thamel reporting that the Chargers are set to hire former Florida State defensive coordinator Adam Fuller as the team's new safeties coach. Remember, he was a former assistant coach at the University of Memphis. And the Pro Bowl games, and I say games because that's how they're known as now. They play different games, and of course it culminated with that beautiful, exciting, extraordinary flag football game on Sunday. It averaged 4.7 million viewers across ABC, ESPN, and Disney XD. That's the lowest audience ever, excluding the COVID year. 18% decline from last year, 30% decline from 2 years ago. The Pro Bowl game is awful. The Pro Bowl game should be done with. They should figure out something, reward these players in some way, but that is not being watched by anybody. And usually with the NFL,
no, it is, because it's being still watched. That's way more than anything else ESPN would put on at that time.
It's a pittance compared to what anything associated with the Shield brings in.
Oh, I know, but again, there's nothing else ESPN could put on there that would have got them 4 million viewers at that time either.
That's true, but again, this is across
a college basketball game would probably get them less than 1 million.
True, but it's across a couple of platforms here. ABC, ESPN, Disney. I mean, come on. That's what you're totaling. All right. News finally. It's been a while on renovations to FedEx Forum. I think people followed the story with the state and the allocation of the money for both Simmons Bank Liberty Stadium and FedEx Forum. And then we knew that the Grizzlies had not yet formalized their final plans on what they wanted to do, and it took a while. So yesterday, Mayor Paul Young went before, I guess, the city council, and he had asked for $80 million to start to be allocated for the first step in the renovations to FedEx Forum. This was pretty startling when it was said that this project could take up to 10 years, because you're thinking, in 10 years, if it really takes that long, and that's when you complete renovations, won't they be old by then? Won't you need new renovations? I mean, that is a long period of time to renovate an arena. Some other thoughts or thoughts from you on what Mayor Young had to say and where we are now in moving forward with this project?
Well, I mean, again, I don't know all the technicals. He's talking about how this will save, like doing it in phases, saves taxpayer money, interest, all that. I certainly don't know any of that, and I don't understand all of it. But I'll defer to them and figure that must be the case. So, doing it this way, if that's going to save taxpayer money and a lot of interest and all that, by all means, go ahead, do whatever you got to do.
Right, exactly. If that's the case, great. And if that's the case, then you would think that everything is agreed upon by the Grizzlies organization. If the Grizzlies are fine with increments of renovations over the years, then who am I to argue?
And he said doing it this way would save $100 to $200 million in interest. So if that's going to save $100, $200 million, do it this way.
And they'll find out what at the next. Are they voting at the next meeting to allocate the first $80 million to get these things started? Is that what it says?
I'm not sure exactly when that is, or there's also another hotel motel tax increase that needs to be approved, I guess, too, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, February 18th meeting.
Okay,
is when they could allocate that $80 million.
Yeah, again, it's been a long time since we've heard anything. So to have that story come out yesterday, to have Mayor Young talk to the council members and get this ball rolling, because there's antsy people out there, and I can completely understand.
And he said the renovations could last until 2032, so it'd be 7 years.
Okay, so not quite 10. That's a lot better. Again, because everything gets outdated quickly anymore, especially with sports venues. You put something in, 5 years later, it's old. Certainly 10 years later, it's old. But you got the renovations that are moving along at Simmons Bank Liberty Stadium. Little apprehension, a little bit of nervousness when you don't hear about the story, what's going on with the Grizzlies. Obviously, they're under contract and all that good stuff. And you just wonder where they are. So this is certainly, I think, a bit of good news. And to hear the mayor talk about saving people, the taxpayers, money in the process of getting the new renovations, which are needed. Remember, the Grizzlies could have played hardball, wanted a new arena. Who knows what could have happened? I think this is the best case scenario for everybody. We'll take a timeout. When we come back on the other side, we're talking Super Bowl 59 with Dave Mason from Bet Online. This is Sports 56 Mornings with Greg and Eli on Real Sports Talk, Sports 56 at 98.5 FM.
It's putt-putt time. The weather is getting right for a little time outside, and putt-putt golfing games driving range is a good place to be. Putt-putt driving range rates are from $10 to $33, based on the number of holes. Even senior rates available at putt-putt golfing games driving range. 84 Summer Avenue. That's the Culture Landing Pass to the Cats Putt-putt driving range. 901-386-2992. Putt-putt driving range is putt-putt time.
Texting privacy policy and terms and conditions posted at textplan.us. Texting rules for recurring automated text marketing messages. Message and data rates may apply. Reply stop, opt out. Consult a doctor prior to use.
Wow, you look amazing. What have you been doing? I'm sure you've heard of Ozempic, Wegovy, and the other GLP-1 medications, right? Well, I found this great company called Zelfie. If you qualify, their providers can prescribe medications like Ozempic and Wegovy and other GLP-1 medications that are 80 to 90% less expensive, all 100% online. I can get GLP-1 medications for 80 to 90% less and do it all online? No doctor's office or pharmacy? Yes, Zelfie can provide semaglutide or tirzepatide, the active ingredients in Ozempic and other expensive GLP-1s, but for 80 to 90% less and shipped directly to your door. How do I get started with Zelfie? Just send them a text.
Text CARE to 200-300 to get started today with Zelfie. Get the same active ingredients in Wegovy or Ozempic, but for 80 to 90% less and 100% online. Don't wait. Text CARE to 200-300 right now for a link to your exclusive offer. Text CARE to 200-300. That's CARE to 200-300. CARE to 200-300.
Spring forward with real unlimited data from Straight Talk this tax season and get a free Samsung Galaxy A16 5G or Moto G Power 5G 2024 with select plans. So you can stream games during Mad March hours, check the weather for April showers, and watch garden videos about May flowers. Straight Talk, real unlimited data. Available at Walmart and StraightTalk.com. Offer valid before 15/25 taxes and fees apply. Requires purchase of single line global limited plan or higher. For network management practices, visit StraightTalk.com.
Traffic brought to you by 901 Eats to Go, 3135 Kirby Wing Road in Rodman. Pick up or ask Uber Eats on the line at 901eats.com. Eats with a Z. Good food,
traffic.
Good morning. Just a few more minutes on this wreck. 240 westbound at Mount Moriah. It is still busy coming in on 385 Billmore Parkway as you come in from Collierville, working your way down I-40 right now. That's picked up quite a bit in the last few minutes on 40 westbound in from Fayette County in and through Shelby County. LLV offers everything a fun couple or a single could want. Luxury Lifestyle Vacations offers all-inclusive resorts and cruises all over the world. For more information, Google LLVclub.com. I'm Commander Chuck with your on-time traffic.
This is Original Sports Station. We are Sports 56, WHBQ Memphis, and W253DF Memphis. Now back to Sports 56 mornings on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM. This hour is brought to you by James Gaddis Jewelers. Here once again, Greg Gaston and Eli Savoy.
Welcome back, everyone. 8:01 the time. 47 degrees here in the Memphis area. Get up to 64 today, but you're going to see rain, some thunderstorms possible this morning. Cloudy skies this afternoon. Areas of patchy fog as well. And then tonight, considerable cloudiness, occasional rain showers after midnight going into Thursday morning. Your Thursday looks to be pretty good once you get past the rain in the early morning hours. Sunshine, 71 degrees. Greg Gaston, Eli Savoy, Elijah Seegers with you on this Wednesday, February 5th, 2025. We're broadcasting live from the Family Leisure Studios. Family Leisure, where family and fun come together. 2120 Whitten Road, just north of I-40. Obviously, it's the countdown to the big game, Super Bowl 59 on Sunday. And each year, it seems like for a number of years now, we get to talk to our good friend Dave Mason. He is the brand manager from Bet Online. You can follow him on Twitter at Dave Mason, B-O-L. We can talk about all the fun things that are going to happen from a gambling standpoint for Super Bowl 59. Dave, how are you?
I'm great. Busy, but great. Fun week.
I know you're busy. It's always fun to catch up with you. Do you think we're going to see, and I know the line hasn't really fluctuated since it first came out, Kansas City a slight favorite, but it feels like there's going to be maybe some spite betting going on where there's people outside of the Chiefs fandom that are all rooting for the Eagles. They all want the Eagles to win because they don't like dynasties. They don't like winners. For some reason, they don't like Mahomes and Andy Reid, that a lot of money could end up being put on Philadelphia. Do you think there's going to be a trend towards Philadelphia?
Man, right now we don't see it. We're Eagles fans big time, which is great for me because I'm Philadelphia.
I'm from Atlantic City, New Jersey. I'm a South Jersey guy, so I know what you mean. Yeah.
Go Birds. Yeah, but as of now, 56% of the cash is on KC. Currently 1-point favorites on the money line. 69% is on KC, minus 121. We need the Eagles and futures too, big time. They're a really big win in the Super Bowl futures, while KC is a very small loss. So I don't know about the spite betting. When it comes down to it, yeah, okay, you want KC to lose, but are you just going to put money on them to lose because you don't like them? Maybe, I don't know, but they're going for a 3-P. It's so, Mahomes and Andy Reid, they scare me as an Eagles fan, as rightfully they should. But I don't know. Will late money come in on the Eagles? I don't think. I think it's going to remain how it is now. I think we're going to need the Eagles come Super Bowl Sunday. But I could be wrong. Sharps could be waiting to pound the birds. But we'll see.
What about the total? How has the total gone so far and where the money's come in?
Yeah, we opened 46 and it went all the way up to 50. Sharp action hit 50 and then 49.5, driving it down. Sharp action hit under 50 and under 49.5, driving down to 49. It's 49 most of the time. And then yesterday it went down to 48.5, even though 64% of the cash is on the over. So the sharper side is on the under, but the public is on the over.
So normally, what is the most played prop bet?
Bet count wise, there's bet count and then there's money, right?
Yeah.
Bet count wise, probably the coin toss. Believe it or not, everybody has a bet on the darn coin toss. It might not be a lot of money, but everybody likes to kind of tradition, right? I say it every year. If you ever been in a brick and mortar sports book, one of the loudest cheers you're going to hear all game, if not the loudest, is when they flip that darn coin. So, little skin in the game on the coin toss. So, bet count wise, the coin toss, money wise, over unders for popular players like Patrick Mahomes over passing yards, Saquon Barkley over rushing yards, that kind of stuff. For more of the exotic stuff, MVP, that takes a ton of bets. Gatorade, that takes another bet, or another traditional exotic bet that just everybody wants to bet.
Where do you have what's Saquon Barkley's rushing yardage in this game, and kind of where are people coming over that, or how do you have that one set?
Let me check here. 114.5, and yeah, people are betting the over. Usually, which is usually the case in these player props, people like to bet the overs usually on the big players. So yeah, we'll need him to go under. I mean, selfishly, I don't want him to go under, but but from a dollar cents point of view, if it's a low scoring game, we usually do really great on player props, because a low scoring game, that means there's not the unders are hitting on yardage and touchdowns. So if it's a high scoring game, then the overs are hitting, and we usually don't do as well on the player props.
With the player props and with touchdowns, if this game goes higher than usual scoring wise, you're probably going to get the Barkley, maybe multiple touchdowns, Jalen Hurts with the tush push, a touchdown, maybe two. The regular cast of characters will probably score the touchdowns. They won't be the freak third or fourth wide receiver catching one. When it's the main name guys, does that hurt books?
Yeah, I mean, not really hurt, but it's not as good ideal for us. Absolutely,
right.
Especially with these same game parlays now. I mean, everybody's parlaying Barkley 2+ touchdowns to over yardage to this to that the other thing. Well, those are hitting. I mean, those payouts are massive. So yeah, I mean, it's more than just a straight bet now. The trend over the last few years is these same game parlays, which we have in our props builder, and that really gets the payouts going up high if all these big name players, and the bigger the name, the more action on it. Every player takes action, but a Barkley's going to take 10 times more action than a smaller player.
Right.
So absolutely, those big name players starting to have big statistical days. That's definitely going to hurt us on the props end of things.
You guys, you've got your Taylor Swift props. You've got all kinds of things from the broadcast of the game, all of these things. Like, what's the process to come up with your props and which ones you're going to use? And I'm sure there's others. Yeah, no, we're not going to do that. Like, what's the whole process like, and how long does it take to figure these things out?
Yeah, I mean, it's leading up to the Super Bowl, we're thinking, and this is more. We have a really good team here. We put a lot of the books have different philosophies. We love our marketing and putting a lot of stuff out. Some books stay away from it. Some books love it. We love it. So we have a good team of marketers and odds guys who like to get creative. So we start thinking about the storylines, right? The Chiefs is in the back of your mind. Well, if they make it, it's all about three-peat stuff and Taylor Swift and this and that and the other thing. And then once after the conference championships, we're the first 2 days, we're just compiling ideas, thinking outside the box. What are the storylines? Keeping your eyes and ears open. So that first week, the bye week, you're doing that. Then by a few days later, we have a good list. And then it comes to pricing it up. Mm-hmm. And the most tedious part is just making it live on the site through the back end. It's not like we're just pressing a button and they all populate on the site. I mean, we still have stuff going up. A lot of stuff is going up today and tomorrow. So it's just a tedious, painstaking process. And you got to be right, not only on the odds, but the wording, because a lot of this is unique stuff, so you really have to have the wording correct so you don't leave open a loophole for players to just find some loophole where their bet wins no matter what. So it's a really painstaking, tedious process, but it's worth it.
And then how many people do you have like grading these bets as they happen, of like who was seen crying first during the anthem, or who was doing this, or how many times this person was shown during the broadcast?
Right. Well, let me say the three of us, probably about 7 of us all told, but a lot of them it's not, the 1 or 2 guys will be pushing the button to grade it, but with a lot of eyeballs on the game, you know what I mean? And I tweet out every year, you got to be patient with a lot of these things. Some of these things we're going to need to wait till the next day. We might have to we'll have to draw straws to see who watches the game again. If the Eagles win, I'll watch it again. I'll draw that straw this year. But,
because you got,
how many times over under is Taylor Swift shown? You know what I mean? And we don't always get it right. There's just so many. We might get some wrong, and players will hit us up on Twitter, customer service. Hey, you had Taylor Swift undergraded, but there was another, and then we look at it and like, you're right, and we regrade it. So it might take a day or two to grade some of these wacky ones.
Because I'm looking here, like you got odds on the damn Puppy Bowl. Like how are you setting odds on the Puppy Bowl? How do you figure that one out?
That's kind of like put your blindfold on and throw a dart kind of. There's a lot of science that goes into some of these. Sorry to disappoint you. We don't have Puppy Bowl algorithms and stuff, whereas the spread total money line for the game lines, I mean, we can do that blindfolded. That we have a lot of science involved there. But, the Puppy Bowl odds and whether somebody will show cleavage or Kendrick Lamar's nipples, or, all that stuff. It's like, what do you think? What do about 4 bozos on a call going over what Lamar's nipple's going to be shown in spots, and you take a bet.
I didn't know Puppy showed cleavage.
The over-under for the Puppy Bowl at 200.5 points. I didn't realize the puppies were scoring that much. That's good stuff. Exciting game.
Dave Mason joining us here on the Sissy's Log Cabin guest line. He's the brand manager for Bet Online. You can follow Dave on Twitter at Dave Mason, BOL. Okay, so what would you say is the most outlandish prop bet you have for this year's Super Bowl? And what's the most outlandish one that didn't make the grade that you were thinking about, but you decided not to put it up there?
Well, we still have some on the chopping table. That's funny you asked that, but I was just gonna hit after this call, I'm gonna hit up the props guy and tell him not to make a couple of them live. It's like there's one here. Like I coined the cleavage prop back in the day. I invented the cleavage prop, with Beyonce and stuff. And now they have like, will Andy Reid show cleavage? And I like, dude, that we don't need that prop, Well, chasing. I mean, how are you going to grade that? I mean, that's just too much. I don't know. Some other stuff there. There's just so much crazy stuff. I haven't even gone through it all, but here's a couple creepy ones that I'm putting on the site right now. Belichick and his girlfriend. He's dating a 24-year-old girlfriend. So what's higher? Belichick's girlfriend age, which is 24, or Mahomes' completions? Belichick's age difference, girlfriend, which is 48 years, or the total points scored in the game.
I love it.
Trump's alleged weight when he got booked into Fulton County. He said they claimed he was 215 pounds, which is extremely athletic for a guy his size. So, what's his alleged weight, or passing yards by Jalen Hurts? So it just goes on and on and on all sorts of crazy stuff. I mean, the 79 or 89 Taylor Swift props. It's so much to list. Just get on to betonline.ag and click on the Super Bowl tab and just start looking at them.
I'm looking here. You've got the gender of unauthorized person or streaker on the field. Oh,
yeah, of course, the gender, sure. Hopefully it'll be a clear-cut winner, but you never know these days. So,
in this day and age, you're right.
You even got non-binary on there. Like, you got to start adding extra things on here.
Exactly. You got to watch your pronouns. You know, that one is going to be in the eyes of the person who made the bet and their interpretation. That one you'll probably get an argument from, but that is really unique. Back to real. Back to real football stuff. I saw this one. I saw somebody talking about this yesterday. I heard somebody talking about this yesterday. And it was, and it seemed to me like, wow, this is a good play for people. It's Dallas. It's a receiver to catch a ball on the first drive for Philly, and a receiver to catch or a person to catch a pass on the first drive for Philly, and for the first drive on Kansas City. And somebody said, well, the two tight ends, man, they use those tight ends, and Goddard was like plus 120 or something like that, and then Kelsey was less, but you combine the two and parlay it, it's not bad. Do you have something like that on there with who would make the catches on the first drive, something like that?
Yeah, we have it. I just don't know what the odds are right to spew them out, to tell you the truth. But we have it somewhere on the site. I don't know what the odds are, just to ramble them off my tongue.
It just seems like anything can happen. You throw a pick, or like it happened in the last game for the Eagles when Barkley went off for that long run. They got one play, so you lose. Obviously, it was a one-play drive. What do you think personally? Obviously, you got some confidence in your team because you're from Philly. You like the Eagles and all that. But what do you think personally about this game?
Yeah, I mean, being in this industry, I know not to bet or play or think with my heart. I think the Eagles are a better team on paper. I think we're position by position, we're better than them, except for a quarterback, which kind of scares me. It's so hard just to fade Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid. I mean, they've been there, done. They just win. Even this year they weren't. People are saying all year they're waiting for them. They're barely winning. They're not blowing teams out. They're not scoring over 30 points. Yada yada. And here we are. They're going for a three-peat. All they did was win. So Jalen Hurts, I say it's going to be a close game. Who has the ball at the end? Patrick, if the Chiefs are down by 4 and there's 2 minutes left and Patrick Mahomes has the ball, I feel a lot more confident them scoring the game-winning touchdown than the Eagles. Also, a concern of mine on the Eagles side of things is the kicker, Elliott. I mean, he's fallen off a cliff this year. Again, in a close game, I mean, one missed field goal could make the difference. Now they're kicking in a dome, which helps, of course. But that being said, I mean, he's been brutal this year. So, man, I think the odds are exactly where they should be. I haven't placed a bet on the spread nor the money line yet, and I don't think I will personally. I just think I have other interests in the game with some pools and all that kind of stuff. So there's my skin in the game. But gun to head, I'm betting against my Eagles and taking the Chiefs.
Okay. I hear you. I just think, look, it's so tough to bet. It's so tough to bet against Mahomes. I mean, they're the Kings until they get knocked off. But the Eagles' offensive line, defensive line in the trenches, I like them. I don't know. I think it might be good for your Eagles, Dave, but we'll see on Sunday. But it's going to be a lot of fun. And, of course, at Bet Online, it's a lot of fun as well, especially with everything that they have up there. And they're still adding things as well as far as prop bets for Sunday's big game in New Orleans. He's Dave Mason. He's the brand manager of Bet Online. You can follow him on Twitter at Dave Mason, BOL. Always a pleasure, Dave. Enjoy the big game.
Thanks, guys. Take care.
You too.
Go Birds.
There you go. I didn't have the heart to tell him, man, you're knocking our guy, Jake Elliott. You're knocking our friend of the show, the former Memphis Tiger kicker, but he's absolutely right. He's been up and down this year for whatever the reason is, but there you go.
They have which will Jason Kelsey do first, chug a beer or take off his top? I think if he chugs the beer, he'll probably take off the shirt first. So I would go take off the top.
Do you get into all those prop bets? Do you bet a lot of that stuff? Like the wacky stuff? No, nor do I.
I might pick out one or two that I find interesting. Like usually if I'm going to do like some of that stuff, it'll be like some of the cross sport stuff, like somebody's like NBA's points or whatever. But it's trying to sort through all this stuff is just like, it's trying to figure out which ones you would want to play are like, there's just a million different. I mean,
it's mind-boggling.
They have 74 broadcast props. They've got 33 cross-sport props. They've got 18 about the halftime show. They've got 89 Taylor Swift props. They got the Puppy Bowl. They got 23 different politics props, 21 officiating props. I mean, it's just there's a million different things they've got. Again, he said they're still adding more. I mean, that's what's up right now on their site. They're constantly adding more. So just trying to sort through them all is just crazy.
The worst part is I could talk myself into a lot of these, right? Like, oh, that looks good. That looks like a winner right there. That's a winner. And then, boom. And I'm not going to play the coin toss because if you lose, you're already in a bad mood. You're right off the bat, boom. First thing, you lose, you're already down. I don't need that.
Yeah, but if you win, you're already up.
No, I know. That's the half-full way to look at things. From a gambling standpoint, unfortunately, I'm looking at it half-empty. Usually it's fully empty by the time the game's over. James Gaddis Jewelers, man, oh, man, we got Valentine's Day coming up on the 14th. So we are closing in a little more than a week away. And if you're looking for that special something for that special someone, James Gaddis Jewelers makes sense with beautiful jewelry, everything from earrings to necklaces to bracelets to pendants. And, of course, if you're getting engaged in 2025, make sure James Gaddis Jewelers is one of the jewelers you look at for that beautiful engagement ring, wedding rings, personally designed wedding sets. They are your bridal, engagement, and anniversary jeweler headquarters. But they got a lot of deals going on right now for Valentine's Day. In fact, Jay Gaddis is going to pay a visit to us on Tuesday to let everybody know what is happening at James Gaddis Jewelers. But you can find out for yourself by stopping by. They're located at 4900 Poplar between Mendenhall and St. Nick. On the web, you can find out more about them at gaddisjewelers.com. They are full-service jewelers with 2 bench jewelers ready to serve you. So whether it's Valentine's Day, a special occasion like a birthday, an anniversary, a graduation present, or again, you're getting engaged, make James Gaddis Jewelers your jeweler. 4900 Poplar between Mendenhall and St. Nick in the heart of East Memphis. They are the second-hour sponsor of Sports 56 Mornings. You're tuned in to Sports 56 Mornings with Greg and Eli on Real Sports Talk, Sports 56 and 98.5 FM.
Fall is football at the Owner's Box Sports Bar and Grill in Lakeland, Town Square. Monday through Friday, it's happy hour for 3 cents. $1 off all draft meals, $5 off meal drinks, $4.50 for house wine, and pretzels, mozzarella sticks, queso, corn dogs, and beer. Friday night ice cream, 7 o'clock. Dine in and mozzarella Wednesday, 5 Raider games for free. I'll watch college football every pro game. All at the Owner's Box Sports Bar and Grill in Lakeland, Highway 70. Fall is football.
Andy Wise here. I'm an actual customer of Pella Windows and Doors of Memphis in the Mid-South. I was so impressed, I endorsed Pella as the standard in affordable luxury. And now, Pella's even more affordable. 12 months, no interest, no payments, plus 50% off installation. Mention you heard this on the radio and get another $500 off. I'm telling you, as your consumer investigator, as their customer, make the wise choice of Pella Windows and Doors of Memphis in the Mid-South.
Entertain the family with an affordable night out and catch your Memphis Hustle live in action. Enjoy edge of your seat excitement and family fun for the entire crew. The hustle won't stop. Visit memphishustle.com for tickets and be sure to hustle down to Landers Center this season.
Hi, this is Troy Fiveash, owner of Fiveash Roofing. Did you know there are so many roofing companies in Memphis that I don't even know them all? So that begs the question, which one should you choose? So I thought I'd give you a little background about me. My grandfather was a World War II Marine. My father worked for the University of Memphis for nearly 30 years. My mother, a pianist at Raleigh Baptist Church. Seems like forever. I went to Brownsville Road, Craigmont, and Bartlett High School, class of 81. We support the local school systems, youth athletics, and believe in what St. Jude and Le Bonheur stand for. I'm a Tiger and Grizz fan. The point? Memphis is my home. Fiveash Roofing will be around if you ever have a problem with the service we provide. Fiveash Roofing, fair, honest, and ethical, with deep local ties in our community. 367-0050 or memphisroofer.com.
Fiveash Roofing is what we do. We're here for you. Sports
Good morning. Starting to build even more with some volume here in the last few minutes inbound on Summer Avenue, also on Austin Peay. You get up on that ramp to I-40, headed over towards the 101 connector on I-40 here at Watkins as we check it out live. It looks pretty good at the moment. Now it's trying to build coming up from the south on 55 northbound up through South Haven with all that traffic making its way out of DeSoto County headed towards South Memphis. Hey, if your lawn needs a little bit of help this time of the year, call Lawn Solutions today at 868-5626. I'm Commander Chuck with your on-time traffic.
Now back to Sports 56 mornings on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM. This hour is brought to you by James Gaddis Jewelers. Diamonds are forever. Here once again, Greg Gaston and Eli Savoy.
Welcome back, everybody. 8:26 is the time. Great to hear from Dave Mason again, our annual visit, talking Super Bowl. Of course, the Super Bowl this Sunday, Super Bowl 59, pits the Eagles and the Chiefs, a rematch of Super Bowl 57. Aside from Super Bowl and NFL talk, we got a lot of college basketball to talk about, and we'll do so with Jerry Palm.
It's time for Sports 56 Mornings Weekly Chat with Jerry Palm, college football and basketball writer and bracketologist for CBSSports.com. Here are Greg, Eli, and Jerry.
He is Jerry Palm, CBS Sports, CBSSports.com. You can follow him on Twitter at JPPalmCBS. He's with us each and every Wednesday talking college basketball and, of course, during the college football season, talking pigskin with us as well. JP, how are you?
All right, how are you?
Doing good, man. We're, 6 weeks away from Selection Sunday?
Thereabouts. Yep.
And yet, the SEC is not going away. That conference continues to dominate. I'm looking at your latest bracketology. You got 3 number 1 seeds from the SEC.
Yep. Yeah. That's happened before.
It has.
A couple times. 2019 most recently with the ACC, and then 2009 with the Big East back when it was 16 teams. And then each of those years, one of the 3 won the national championship.
Is there a pretty big gap between Auburn and Duke and the other number 1s?
Well, there's a gap, yes. Auburn and Duke have been real steady, consistent winners. I don't think either one of them has lost in quite a while. So, yeah, there's a gap between those 2 and the rest of the field.
The one team that because you're one that you got up now, this is from Tuesday, correct?
Monday.
Monday.
Wait a minute, the bracket?
Yeah.
Yeah, Monday.
Okay, so this
Mondays and Fridays.
This was before Pitt lost to Virginia.
Yes.
Okay. Because I saw Pitt still in here. I'm like, how in the world does Pitt keep hanging on?
Well, I mean, part of it is, I don't know. It probably won't be on Friday, but you get to that part of the bracket, you got to put somebody in. They're going to take 68 teams, even if they only have 60 that are worthy. So, you got to fill the field. I didn't particularly care for putting them in before they lost to Virginia. But yeah, that's a pretty bad loss.
Well, I mean, because they just keep losing in the ACC. We're talking about the ACC's not very good.
No.
And Pitt just keeps losing in the ACC, but they're still in the bracket. I'm like, my gosh. And I mean, that was an absolutely terrible loss there. That's why I didn't know if this was before or after that. So
that's definitely after. I mean, I make no promises for Friday, but that's because, everybody else is playing too. But yeah, that was definitely after.
I'm looking at your top 16. And again, since you put out this bracket, Marquette lost to Connecticut. Michigan State lost another game out on the West Coast. Kentucky got clobbered by Arkansas at home. Houston even lost a game. Iowa State's lost 3 in a row. I mean, there could be some movement certainly here in the final month and change of the regular season with all these teams. I know it's harder, I guess, as we get closer to the finish line and teams have played more games, but there's probably going to be a lot of movement here, I would think.
Well, yeah, particular because there are 7 SEC teams in the top 16. There are 4 from the Big Ten, 3 from the Big 12. So, you've got so few conferences involved in that group of teams that they're going to be playing each other. Someone has to lose, right? So Marquette lost, by the way. The UConn game was over the weekend. Their loss was St. John's.
Okay.
Yesterday, which is huge for St. John's because that's like their first noteworthy win. You know, they had a great record. They weren't losing to anybody they shouldn't, but they didn't really have the big win yet. And that is definitely a big win for St. John's. So that was something they really needed to put a little, meat on the bones of that resume. Their best win before that was New Mexico at home or at Xavier.
Right. So
great record. Not a whole lot behind it, but now that they beat Marquette, they have something they can hang their hat on. It's last week. So the top 16 I had on Friday, the top 3 teams of that group won over the weekend, and 9 of the other 13 lost, including all of the 2 seeds in Friday's bracket. So, sometimes, when everybody loses, nobody loses, right? A couple of those 2 teams stayed on the 2 line because, you can't throw all 9 of those teams out of the top 16. But, Michigan State and then loses again at UCLA. The USC loss is worse, although, these multiple time zone road trips have not been a lot of fun for anybody. That's a tough road for Michigan State. And Michigan State had a great record, didn't have a whole lot behind it either. Similar, but not quite as much as St. John's in the sense that, they didn't have, I think their best win, Michigan State's best win was, Illinois at home. Other than that, at Ohio State, at North Carolina, or neutral North Carolina, at Northwestern. Those are their other quad 1 wins.
Mm.
So, the schedule's coming for really a lot of these teams, like Michigan State, Purdue. They have really difficult schedules down the stretch, and they're the 2 teams that are competing at the top of the league, and it may end up being that neither one of them ends up winning it because of what they have left. But, Michigan State's got Oregon. They've got to go to Illinois. They get Purdue at home and home with Michigan, Wisconsin at home. So, the games are coming for Michigan State, but this road trip really kind of hurts them because it takes away some of the margin for error for the rest of this schedule, which is going to be pretty daunting.
Jerry Palm joining us on the Sissy's Log Cabin guest line. Again, you can look at his bracketology at cbssports.com. You can follow him on Twitter at jppalmcbs. Well, when we were in the football season, we talked about the SEC and cannibalism, and they're beating up each other, and with a 12-team playoff as opposed to 64, 68 if you count, the first 4, you're talking about a lot less teams. So there was more of it hurt the SEC more with having these teams beat up on each other. Right. Here in basketball, it doesn't seem to be affecting things, even though they're beating up on each other.
Well, I mean, you're not knocking teams out of the field. There's 8, 9 teams that barring something unforeseen are probably going to make the tournament, right? And I consider Auburn a lock, meaning, and I define that differently. I define lock as you lose all of the rest of your games, you're still in.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that to me is what a lock is. You don't have to play the rest of the season. You're in the tournament. So I don't even consider Duke a lock because they're in the ACC and losing all the rest of their games hurts more. But so it's just that league is going to put double-digit teams in the field in the worst-case scenario. Double-digit teams are going to be in the field. I think I've got 13. That's probably too big a number. It's more likely to be, I would say, 11, give or take, just after they get them beating each other up.
You do not have Arkansas in, which I'm
in which case I probably only have 12 in.
I don't see them.
You got Arkansas and Vandy on the bubble.
I have 13 in. I thought I had Arkansas in, but maybe not. Well, who would I have left out?
I'm just looking at on the bubble here.
I don't see Arkansas in your field.
Okay, well maybe they're not.
How close? Because I look at their resume
close.
And the win over Kentucky is good, but other than that, they got a win over Michigan and nothing else.
No, I know, but that's why they're close. That's why they're on the bubble. They need more. But those 2 wins are better than Michigan State's 2 best wins. So, which we just got done talking about. It's they've got some work to do still. Arkansas does, but plenty of chances to do it. They're in the SEC. They're going to get a lot of games that help them, and but they have right now they're 2-7 in quad 1. 1-1 in quad 2. So, and nothing but quad 1 and 2 games left. So they're going to have to play well down the stretch of this season. Otherwise, their record against better competition, which is going to be almost all of their schedule, ends up being a problem.
I know it's tough to compare teams from different conferences, but our weekly chat about Memphis, you do have them in as a 4 right now. And I think I had asked you last week, is it possible that they could even reach the 3? And I'm looking at the 3 line. Again, we just talked about Michigan State, that they don't have a lot of great wins on their resume. Memphis beat Michigan State. Yep. Missouri you have as a 4, but you have them ahead of Memphis. Memphis beat Missouri head-to-head. I mean, is there a chance if they run the table, Memphis, don't have a bad loss? I mean, there's a lot of obstacles ahead that could be a bad loss or perceived as a bad loss. But
they've already got the couple.
Right, but I'm talking about from here on out. If they run the table and go, what would it be, 27-4, is there a chance to reach 3?
It's actually probably more like 30-something and 4 because you're talking about the conference tournament as well.
Right, that's
probably
true.
30-4.
That's true.
Yeah, they do. It would really help if they could start putting up some numbers because their net is 42.
Right.
Which is, and the reason for that is their average scoring margin is 6 per game.
Yes, they're letting teams hang around. Right.
And that's one of the flaws in the net and Ken Palm, which are almost, say identical, but correlate very highly to each other. Is that scoring margin means more than pretty much anything else. And so their net ranking they're one of those teams where the net doesn't really reflect the kind of resume they have. But they also have a couple mediocre losses we just described, and obviously they can't add to that list, regardless of what they do the rest of the way. Mm-hmm. They don't want to add to the list of mediocre losses. But I think they've done well enough. They obviously would like to see Michigan State do well because the better that win looks, the better everything looks. And Mizzou as well. So those 2 teams, kind of go in the tank a little bit. That could hurt Memphis. And if those 2 teams keep going, then that helps. But also, they won at Clemson. They beat Ole Miss. They beat UConn. So those are good wins. But for Memphis, the best thing is for those teams to continue to do well and stay up in quad 1 and even maybe high quad 1 for a couple of them.
By the way, you have 13. I do. South Carolina,
right,
LSU, Arkansas are the only 3 you don't have in right now from the SEC. Ole Miss got the win last night over Kentucky after they had lost 4 out of 5, but again, none of them bad losses. They still have Auburn, Tennessee, Florida remaining on the schedule. You've got them as a 5, obviously, before the win last night over Kentucky. What do you kind of think their ceiling might be?
Realistic ceiling or absolute ceiling? Win all their games.
Well, yeah, realistic ceiling probably.
Probably where they are. 4 or 5 kind of range. And I guess they could get to a 3. It's just, if they play well, they maybe get to a 3. But it's hard to see them much higher than that.
So going back, you have 13 teams from the SEC. So this is where I got confused because I'm looking at your bracketology, and you have Vandy in as a 10, but then I look further down and you got on the bubble. So Vandy's in as a 10 seed, but they're on the bubble.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, the bubble is teams that can go either way over the cut line. So you're going to have.
By definition,
I think I've got all my 9s on the bubble as well.
No, I understand now. I'm just looking at, you have Vandy and Arkansas. Arkansas is on the bubble out. Vandy's on the bubble in right now. Right. That's how you break it down. Gonzaga had their chance the other day against St. Mary's. I think that was their first meeting of the 2?
Yes.
Okay, maybe 3, right? Depending on the WCC championship, if they both get there. How damaging was that?
Well, I mean, it hurts. It puts them. I had Gonzaga ahead of St. Mary's, and now I don't. But they're 2-6 in Quad 1. They don't have a lot of Quad 1 games left. So it's really just an off year for them, and they lost to Santa Clara at home, which that one really hurts. I mean, this is a team that's got to just find some chemistry or something. Whatever, the talent's not the problem. They've got some talent. They're just not. They just don't seem to mix, and it's kind of hard. When things are like that. Now the St. Mary's game was on the road. They're going to get them, back in the kennel here at some point. So, and that's a place where they're usually pretty safe when it comes to winning games. Although they lost to Santa Clara already at home this year, but they've got to find a way to just get some chemistry going and it's February. It's hard to do that, but they got to bring some wins together, get some confidence, and start playing like the Gonzaga we think they are.
If it doesn't end up with 3 SEC number 1 seeds, is the Big Ten champion the most likely to be in one of those?
I would say either the Big Ten champion or the Big 12 champion. Either one would be, I would think, equally likely. Purdue and Michigan State would have the best profiles. Kansas, Iowa State, Houston.
Oh yeah, Houston.
Most likely, the best profiles. For being the number 1 seed outside of the SEC.
Well, it's interesting in the Big 12 because 2 of the hottest teams in the country right now are Texas Tech and Arizona.
Yeah.
But even if they make the run and end up winning the conference tournament championship, it's highly unlikely after the early season damage that they could be a 1 seed.
Yeah, I agree. Which is kind of why I picked the teams I did.
Exactly.
Texas Tech and just won at Houston. I mean, they've really come on strong. The Texas Tech and Houston were teams that had gaudy net rankings and really nothing to show for it. And lately, both of those teams have picked up some wins that are where their profiles now start to look a little bit more like their net rankings. And Texas Tech winning at Houston was, of course, huge. So, we're starting to see, Arizona come around and look more like the Arizona we thought they'd be. And, Iowa State's falling off, and they were kind of a surprise to be where they were. The loss to Kansas State, that's just one that Iowa State's probably going to regret come March, because that's probably going to cost them a seed line.
Let me test your memory here. You've done this for so many years, so I don't know how you know this, unless it's just off the top of your head. Auburn is 12-1 in Quad 1 games. Do you recall a team that had a better record than that, or just as good?
No, I don't. I can't recall one. No, that's pretty well insane.
It is insane, isn't it? And they're going to get a bunch more chances still, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, because of their league, they could end up with close to 20. It's just nuts. It's just amazing, really, what they've been able to do this year. And you've got maybe the National Player of the Year. We'll see, but because Cooper Flagg is going to contend for that as well. But so Kansas, I'm looking it up. Kansas had 17 Quad 1 wins in 2023. Houston had 16 last year total for the season. So if Auburn's going to be a number 1 seed, they're going to bust. They're going to blow past both those.
Right.
Yeah, because they've got 4 road games left, and I think every road game in the SEC is going to be Quad 1.
Yeah, and most of the home games will be as well.
And they've got Florida at home. They've got Alabama at home. They've got,
and that doesn't even count the conference tournament.
Yeah, Ole Miss at home.
So unless they fall off the face of the earth, they're going to shatter it.
Yeah, I mean, really, right. Unless something goes sideways for them. Yeah,
I mean, it's just crazy. You look at them; they're 12-1 in Quad 1s. Alabama's a great team. You got them as a 1 seed right now. They're 6-3. Tennessee, you got them as a 1 seed. They're 5-4.
They haven't even played as many as Auburn has won.
Exactly. It's not even close.
Yeah, I mean, this Auburn season is just. And it's why, despite the fact that they have a head-to-head loss to Duke on a neutral floor, they're still ahead of them. Because,
Right.
It might even take 2 Auburn losses before you really start to think about, well, maybe Duke should be ahead.
That is nuts. You're updating what, Monday, Friday?
Monday, Friday.
All right, so check that out, folks. If you haven't looked yet at Jerry's Bracketology, CBSSports.com. Make sure to follow him on Twitter at JPPalmCBS. You can listen to him every single Wednesday. He's on with us during both the college basketball and college football season.
That Auburn-Duke game, that was at Cameron Indoor, wasn't it? Wasn't that at Duke?
No, well, I got it as neutral, so it must have been somewhere else. Madison Square Garden, maybe? That's another Duke home floor. By the way, Bubble Watch. I'm doing Bubble Watch mostly daily starting today.
Oh, are you? Okay. So you can check that out. Yep. Go online, CBSSports.com. Check that out. JP, thank you. Have a great week.
All right. Thanks.
Appreciate it.
I thought that game was. I remember watching that. I thought it was at Cameron Indoor, wasn't it? Or was it?
You remember, Elijah?
Yeah, that game was at Duke.
Well, that's what I thought. I was like, I swear, I remember watching that at Duke, not at Madison Square Garden. I could have swore it was an actual at Duke. So Jerry needs to update his thing.
So he needs to adjust.
That's a
text him.
Although it doesn't change anything because it actually becomes better for Auburn, and he's already got Auburn ahead of Duke.
Wait a minute. He has Duke ahead of Auburn, doesn't he?
No, he's at Auburn as the number 1 overall seed.
Oh, I thought I was just looking at it and it wasn't.
That's why he just said.
I know what
despite
he said.
the head-to-head loss,
I know what he said, but
he's got Auburn as the ahead of Duke.
Okay, did he misspeak though? Go to his bracketology.
I've got his bracketology up.
I thought he had Auburn 3rd. Like listed number 3 in his one seed.
That's not his 1 through 68 rankings. That's just he's got his number 1 seeds, his number 2 seeds.
Okay, so there's no rhyme or reason on the 1s and the 2s and 3s. Okay, I got you. All right, we'll take a break, come back, wrap up hour number 2. This is Sports 56 Mornings with Greg and Eli on Real Sports Talk, Sports 56 and 98.5 FM.
Join the voice of the Tigers, Dave Woloshin, for Wolo and Friends. Weekday mornings from 10 to 11 here on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM.
Hey y'all, it's the Mid-South Sports Boat and RV Show, February 14th to the 16th at the Agri Center. Come buy your new boat and make some memories at the lake this summer with family and friends. Premier dealers showcasing the newest ski boats, pontoons, fishing boats with huge show specials. Enter for your chance to win daily door prizes. It's all at the Mid-South Sports Boat and RV Show, February 14th to the 16th. For more info, go to MemphisBoatShow.com. That's MemphisBoatShow.com.
Since 1948, in the alley, the Rendezvous. I'm with John Burgess. John, what's going on in the Rendezvous? Well, there's some things about the Rendezvous I'm going to talk about. For example, we make it really easy to park. We have valet parking right at Monroe Street in our alley. We also want to make it easy for people to get to doors. You can now park in our alley right at our front door and put your flashers on. People also forget that we take reservations for 6 or more. And we have a wonderful party room upstairs that can accommodate people for rehearsal dinners, birthday parties, reunions, graduations. Our rooms seat between 25 and 275 people. And everything at the Rendezvous can be packed to go. But we also do catering. See our menu online, and we can even deliver for groups of 15 or more. So if you have any questions, always feel free to call us at the Rendezvous because we answer our phone ourselves. You'll never hear. Please listen carefully for our menu listing. Press 1 for reservations, press 2 for hours, press 3 for catering, or if you know your party's 9-digit extension number and the first 3 letters of their mother's maiden name, dial it back. Come see us at the Rendezvous. Since 1948, the Rendezvous. What happens to former real estate agents when they want to sell their homes? This is Sheldon Rosenberg, Ashley Shell Run, with Mark Spencer Realtors. I am so proud and feel so honored. Former real estate agents contact me when they want to sell their homes. They know that I've been in the business for quite a while, have a great deal of experience, and know that I am good at marketing. Not merely putting a sign in the yard and hoping it sells. Over the years, I have developed a highly successful strategic marketing program that can mean the difference in what you make and you get. Talk to 2 to 3 real estate brokers, but make sure that I am one of them. So if you or somebody that is thinking about selling a home, remember that other real estate agents have been in the business 10,
Hi, this is Troy Fiveash, owner of Fiveash Roofing. I have been told that my ads are all business and I should share some of my personality. Okay, I love tongue twisters, like the one about the terrific tasting toast by Taste Tester Toaster, or Big Black Bugs, Bleed Blue Blood, and of course Sally and her seashells. Or of course the ever-present I'm a Mother Pheasant Plucker, I pluck Mother Pheasants. Okay, enough of that. If you want an honest, fair, reasonable roofing, siding, or gutter estimate, call Fiveash Roofing at 367-0050. That's exactly what you'll get. No empty promises, no high-pressure sales tactics, and no fast-talking salesman trying to convince you that today and only today is the best day for you to get a new roof. For the record, the best day to get a new roof is when you're ready for one. Fiveash Roofing, fair, honest, and ethical. 367-0050 or memphisroofer.com.
Fiveash Roofing, it's what we do. We're here for you.
Now, back to Sports 56 Mornings on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM. This hour is brought to you by James Gaddis Jewelers.
Don't you just love it?
Here once again, Greg Gaston and Eli Savoy.
Welcome back, everybody. 8:51 is the time. Our buddy Lamar texts in. He says that the SEC-ACC challenge is always played on one of the team's home courts.
Yeah, that's right.
And that was part of the challenge.
That was the one game the ACC won.
That's right. They got destroyed.
So I remember watching it. I was like, I swear I just was thinking like I watched that game at Cameron Indoor.
You know, when he said Madison Square Garden, I thought, was it there? Like he was able to sell me on that. But yeah, now that I think about it, and thank you, Lamar, it is the SEC-ACC challenge on the home court.
Because the Auburn North Carolina game was in Maui, so I guess I was like that could have also been the SEC-ACC, but that was the Maui game. So yeah, the Duke game had to be the SEC-ACC challenge. I just was like, I remembered watching that game and could have swore I was watching it happen in Cameron Indoor.
We were talking about Lonzo Ball earlier, and the Grizzlies' name came up yesterday as far as possibly being interested in acquiring his services, but so did other teams, including Detroit, Minnesota. And Evan Sidery is saying, keep an eye on the Bulls as a potential facilitator for a Jimmy Butler trade involving the Suns. Lonzo Ball continues to be linked to the Heat as a realistic destination, which can happen by getting involved in this deal. I'm hoping for the best for this young man because, again, battling injuries and missing about 2 years of basketball, you certainly want, I don't care about the dad and the whole Ball story. You know, they were fun. They were fun to watch. The father was fun. It never bothered me. I'm rooting for the kid, right? I'm rooting for anybody, right, who has an injury, and you don't want it to be a career-ending injury. So while I'm rooting for the guy, I just don't know why there's so many teams that are enamored with acquiring a guy who has had those injuries.
It's his contract. It's not him.
It's just it expires.
It's an expiring $20 million contract. That's what people want.
So they're doing it from a financial standpoint. Most of these moves are from a financial standpoint, but
especially for facilitating a trade. I mean, that's people are looking to acquire expiring deals, and a $20 million expiring contract is great in trade markets.
Right, absolutely. You got your teams that are looking to improve their chances to make the playoffs or to make a run in the playoffs.
Like if
and then you got others that are looking for financial stability.
Like if the Grizzlies were somehow to get Lonzo Ball, it would basically be probably to get rid of some other contract, whether it be Smarts or whatever. Like it would be a getting an expiring deal rather than a deal that continues.
So you think there would be something else that would be happening?
It would be saving future money.
That wouldn't surprise me one bit with the Grizzlies.
Knowing that you've got Jaren, who's going to be paid after, well, he could get the extension this offseason, although that's a very complicated matter. If he doesn't make an all-NBA team, then it would be it would be dumb on Jaren's part to do his extension this offseason. He would need to wait till next offseason when he becomes a free agent to do his extension. Otherwise, it would cost him millions of dollars. But if he makes an all-NBA team, then he could do the extension this offseason and then they get that done. But they know that they're going to have to pay Jaron a heck of a lot more money than what they're paying him right now, starting after next season. And certainly at this point, they're going to pay Jaron Jackson Jr. and make sure that he is here.
Oh, there's no question about it. How about the big news yesterday from outside of the sports world here in Memphis? In-N-Out Burger. Did you see that news? Multiple In-N-Out burgers are on the way to the Memphis area. They say 4 or 5 restaurants will be built in the Memphis area and then all throughout the state of Tennessee. It has made the trek east from the West Coast. I don't know where it started, but it may have been out in California. That's where I've had In-N-Out Burger. But they're down in Texas as well. So now let the burger wars continue. It used to be McDonald's versus Burger King. Now and soon, Whataburger versus In-N-Out Burger. So there you go. Big news.
Yeah, I'm all for more options. I'm not a big In-N-Out guy, but I'm all for more options.
All I know is when I went to In-N-Out Burger in Vegas, when I went to In-N-Out Burger in the Los Angeles area, could not have been any cleaner. It was so freaking clean in there. Now, it just might be great workers, great owners, who knows. But I'm excited about the options as we'll have that coming here in the not-too-distant future.
Folks, Fleet Feet is the place to go to get all your running gear. You want to make sure you get shoes that are just right for you. The folks at Fleet Feet will take care of that, taking a look at the way you run, the way you walk, and fitting you with shoes that are perfect for you. Plus all your other gear from shorts or shirts or socks or whatever, anything you need in the running world. Heck, even if you just need advice, if you're getting started running or you want to start training for races, go into folks and talk to the folks at Fleet Feet. They're all runners. They're all about runners. That's what it's about at Fleet Feet. 2 locations over in East Memphis. It's in the Laurelwood Shopping Center. Out in Collierville, Poplar News to Levy, next door to Huey's. 2 locations for you to go see them. You can also find them online, fleetfeetmemphis.com. You can also find them on social media. They keep you up to date with all the stuff they've got going on, a lot of stuff that you can get involved with group runs and other things with the folks at Fleet Feet.
Today is National Signing Day.
It is indeed.
And it's lost its luster because of the early signing period, all the other news from portal news and NIL news and all that. It's kind of lost its luster. Most of the players commit early, but there was one 5-star football player rated in the ESPN 300 class that had not made his decision until now, and that is a guy by the name of Ty Haywood. He is a 5-star player, and he has signed with the University of Michigan. Locally, a lot of players have signed, a lot of smaller schools, but some with bigger schools as well. But most of that signing has already happened, but it is National Signing Day. When we come back, hour 3, we open up talking Grizzlies with DeMichael Cole, and then Parthu Pajai for Tigers talk, as the Tigers and the Grizzlies are both in action on this busy Wednesday. You're tuned in to Sports 56 Mornings with Greg and Eli on Real Sports Talk, Sports 56 and 98.5 FM.
Taking care of beerness in Memphis, right on the river with Grind City Brewing and all of their great products. Look, this was a dream come true for a father and son duo, and if you have not been to that brewery right on the river, just to the north of downtown, you're really missing something special. And now you can't miss their products. Wherever you go, you see a brand new label. It's clean, it's beautiful, it's distinctive. You'll know Grind City Brewing, and of course you know their products like Poppy's Pills, that great Pilsner, or Tiger Tail, that very creative craft malt liquor. There's the new Thaddeus Amber Lager. That is absolutely a great light beer. There's the India Pale called God Hopper. It's outstanding. And then there's the Belga, the Belgian-style wheat ale. They keep bringing hits at Grind City Brewing.
When you're working outdoors, unpredictability is the norm. So take on the toughest jobs with the 2025 Honda Pioneer Summer. This rugged side-by-side looks powered engine operated with reliable dual utility and smooth shifting for trails. And you can choose between 3 trims, standard, deluxe, and the Trim Timber Force Edition. Built to handle adventures. It's the 2025 Honda Pioneer Summer today at Casino Honda, 56 East Road, every Sunday morning at 11 to join Ottawa Presbyterian Church for worship. Ottawa is the CMC Church Memphis. Sports 56 traffic.
Good morning. Still a little bit of traffic coming off Bill Morris Parkway, 385 on to 240. We did have a couple of wrecks earlier over there near Mount Moriah as traffic continues to build down I-40 westbound passing Germantown Parkway all the way down to Whitten Road there at Sycamore View Road. Hey, LLV offers everything a fun couple and single could want. Luxury lifestyle vacations, offer all-inclusive resorts and cruises all over the world. Google llvclub.com. I'm Commander Chuck with your on-time traffic.
WHBQ Memphis and W253DF Memphis with Brett Norsworthy and Brian Dacus. Weekday afternoons from 3 to 6.
We're having fun on a Wednesday. Welcome back to Sports 56 Mornings. Welcome in if you're just tuning in for our final hour. Greg Gaston, Eli Savoy, Elijah Seegers on this Wednesday, February 5th, 2025. Happy Hump Day to you. We're broadcasting live from the Family Leisure Studios. Family Leisure, 2120 Whitten Road, just north of I-40. Currently, it's 47 degrees. Got some fog, some dense fog in certain areas. Widely scattered showers or thunderstorms expected this morning. Not a 100% chance, but a good chance that you'll see some rain depending on the area you live in. Then cloudy skies the remainder of the day. Areas of patchy fog, as I mentioned. High 64 for today. Then tonight, cloudy skies early. Then off and on rain overnight. 62 degrees for your low. Your Thursday, once the rain rolls out of the area, will be cloudy. 71 degrees, 48 for your low for tomorrow. Hour 3 of the program brought to you by Jenkins Floors and More. They specialize in flooring and carpeting. So again, you're looking for top-of-the-line material and you're looking to get a discounted price. Jenkins makes sense because they sell it wholesale. They skip the middleman, save you lots of money in the process. Jenkins Floors and More. Hop, skip, and a jump from anywhere in the metropolitan Memphis area. They're located at 2356 Goodman Road. That is in Horn Lake. You can call them, 662-469-9350. They're open Monday through Saturday. Call them, Sports 56 listeners. Ask about your family discount. Military, first responders, you get 10% off. They will do the job for you. They'll come and give you a free estimate, show you different samples of what it will look like, the flooring, the carpeting, or both, and they'll have the job done in a 2-week turnaround. That's their promise to you. It's Jenkins Floors and More, 2356 Goodman Road in Horn Lake. Call them at 662-469-9350. Time now to talk some Grizzlies with Michael Cole.
It's time to talk some Grizzlies basketball. Joining Greg and Eli is DeMichael Cole, Grizzlies beat writer for the Commercial Appeal. Here's DeMichael with Greg and Eli.
It is indeed time for DeMichael Cole. He joins us every single Wednesday. As Mr. Announcer Man said, you can read all his great stuff at the Commercial Appeal. Follow him on Twitter at DeMichaelC. Boy, there is a lot going on, DeMichael. How are you?
I'm doing pretty good, guys. Of course, the phone lines are busy, and we're all over the place. But man, it's a couple more days, then we can just focus on hoops. That's the way I like it.
Well, you got a combination of, they could make a move, maybe they won't make a move, but then you got the news of Marcus Smart and Vince Williams as they've been upgraded now to questionable, which means good news, probably will play. What are you hearing about the game tonight in Toronto?
Yeah, definitely a chance that they get some familiar faces back. We know with Marcus Smart, he's kind of been trending this way for a little bit now, ramping up and doing some work. And then with Vince Williams, he was supposed to actually be back late January.
Right.
But, there was talk of, like, his situation being like a little setback or however you want to describe it. But it's a grade 3 ankle sprain. He's been working out for a while. I remember seeing Vince Williams kind of working out all the way back when we were in like Sacramento and Golden State on that road trip, which was a month ago, actually, beginning of January. So this has been a long process for him. Same thing for Marcus Smart. But what those two guys have in common is something that the Grizzlies have been missing is that those point of attack perimeter defenders. Hasn't been the biggest concern because I think people just trust that this defense will always figure it out because they do under Taylor Jenkins. But the defense in the month of January was not as good as some of the other months.
So how do you see them kind of working back into the rotation, and who loses minutes here?
Man, that's the problem that Taylor Jenkins is going to encounter. I'm glad it's not me. With the 4 questionable guys that they have, if everyone plays, that'll be 14 of the 15 guys on standard contracts that are available. So I was just, doing a little math in my head. And let's hypothetically say that all the questionable guys play. That would be Brandon Clark. That would be, Marcus Smart. That would be Vince Williams. So let's say that all these guys end up playing. And John Conchar is the other one, by the way. So John Conchar is usually, into the like he's probably going to be the last one to play out of that group. Okay, you take him out. Still got 13 guys. Let's say you take J Huff out of the equation, even though he typically makes appearances now and then. Still got 12 guys. And when you take those two out, I don't know where Taylor Jenkins goes after that.
Does Laravia go out?
For me, yes. I would take Laravia out. That would put you at 11. But I still feel like 10 is an optimal number. 11 guys is playing a lot of players, man. And especially in a day where you want guys to get in the rhythm. It's going to be tough, and then especially when you talk about when Desmond Bain potentially gets back.
Right.
So we'll see, what shifts are made, on Thursday, but we'll also see, Taylor's going to have to make some tough calls. I don't think Jake Laravia, I don't think he's been out of the rotation the entire season.
Mm-hmm.
So, he's kind of played all the way through. Now, his play hasn't, he started the season a little bit stronger, and he's kind of, settled in as a back end of the rotation guy, over the last month or so. But I think he definitely loses a spot. But it'll be interesting to see. Gigi Jackson just had a really strong game, but if you asked me before that game, I know Taylor Jenkins is kind of, he really wants Gigi Jackson to prioritize the defensive end. So we'll see how that goes.
Well, especially when Bain is. And by the way, what have you heard? How long do we expect Bain to be out?
Yeah, as Taylor said, he'll miss a little time. I think. I don't want to put an exact timetable on it right now, but I know when they got the news, they initially honestly thought it would possibly be worse than it was. So the injury prognosis that Desmond Bain was given was actually good news for him. If you see him, there's no crutches, there's no boot. He's been walking around. I think it won't be long. He's not. If anything. Worst case scenario, they just say, we're going to just be careful with this thing. And, there's only 4 games left before the All-Star break.
Because I mean,
but I think there's a chance that he's back, possibly even Saturday.
I want to see that. I want to see
that'd be
them
nice if
the
they could
full strength against Oklahoma City.
I mean, when Bain's back, like if you've got Ja and Bain, obviously, and then like you can't GG, Vince, Smart, Wells, Kennard, Pippen. Like there's just not minutes for all those guys. Somebody can't play.
Yeah, I think in theory, if you're asking me what are my 10, I think after you take out Huff, Laravia, Conchar, this is with Bain included. You got 12 at that point. So you need to kind of take out 2 more. I think Scotty would be 1. That gets you to 11. And after that, it's just, all right, who's been playing well as of late? Who's been playing bad as of late? You know, if GG comes down to earth over the next couple games or so before Dez is back, then all right, you know, GG, let's, get you some mental reps or whatever the case may be. If it's Luke Kennard, after he's had this great run, in January, there was a stretch earlier this season where Luke Kennard wasn't in the rotation.
Right.
So I think those are the names that initially come to mind for me.
Yeah, and this is all assuming that they don't make a move here before tomorrow's deadline. We'll talk about that in a second. But I think also I want to see what happens moving forward. And we've talked about this before. Even though Jalen Wells and Zach Edey, basically by the time the postseason comes along, they've played a year. They're not really rookies anymore, but they are and they aren't. You know what I'm saying? They've played enough games, but they've never played in the playoffs. And you're talking about starting 2 rookies in the playoffs. I don't know if that will be the case, but that's only if Vince Williams steps up to what he could be and what we saw glimpses of, or Marcus Smart. Like, it is not a guarantee that Wells is the starter in the playoffs. But then again, the way he's going this year, I wouldn't be surprised if he held off those other guys and stayed in the starting lineup. What do you think about that?
Man, I think right now he's your starter, and I think he'll continue to be the starter unless he has some drastic fall off. But what could change is who's going to be the closer. That's what Taylor Jenkins talks about a lot. Like, as the starting 5 is cool, it's nice and dandy. They come out first in the intros, do the little dances together, all that stuff. But who's gonna be in the mud with you when it's 3 minutes left and the game slows down and every little shot matters and every the ball drops out of your hands and goes out of bounds. People could be talking about it for 3 days. Like, who's gonna be those guys?
Great point.
I think Josh penciled in. I think Dez is penciled in, and I think Jen's penciled in. That's it.
Yeah.
The 2 rookies that you just mentioned, they're not penciled into those. Zach Edey in some games, like, it's funny, the Lakers have made some changes, but previously he was a difference maker against the Lakers when, it was, Anthony Davis on the team. Now, unless the Lakers make, depending on what roster moves they make, but as of right now, I don't think Zach Edey is as big of a difference maker against the Lakers because they got Luka and they got LeBron, and they're going to attack him. And Taylor's going to say, okay, let's put Brandon Clark in the game, just like he did, in that playoff series. He went to Xavier Tillman as his big, but Brandon Clark and Steven Adams weren't available. But he went with a mobile big that can kind of switch onto those guys. Brandon Clark fits the kind of that archetype. So when you talk about the lineup, I think it's going to be more about the closing 5. I think Vince Williams, Marcus Smart, Jalen Wells, it'll be a field thing. When Marcus Smart was healthy, there were some games he closed, and then there were those nights where he was shooting like 2 of 10, and Taylor would say, "Not tonight. We ain't closing with him tonight."
Right.
So I feel like Taylor Jenkins will coach off field. And here's another thing I was thinking about earlier too. Just when I was trying to figure out this rotation thing myself, I don't think Taylor Jenkins is as afraid to make the tough decisions as some people may think. And there's some history into that. Now, could he be slow to it? Yeah, I think so on that. But at the same time, there is history, if you want to go back to the playoffs, 2022 playoffs, Steven Adams started that entire season with the Grizzlies.
Yeah.
The entire season. Started the first couple games of that series against the Timberwolves. Karl Anthony Towns was just getting the best of him, and it was obvious. Your eyes told it to you. The plus-minus numbers were rough for Steven Adams. And you know what Taylor Jenkins did? He didn't just bench him like, we'll just put you in the game in the minutes he's not on the floor. He was getting DNPs.
Yeah.
Steven Adams never got DNPs in the playoffs before. So that was a tough one. And then when the Warriors series came, and this is why I say he was probably slow to it, because I felt like, hey, it's a whole different series. Go back to what's been working for you all season long. But he initially started that series with, I forget if it was Brandon Clark or Xavier Tillman starting, but it was one of those bigs, and it wasn't working as much. Like, Golden State was beating them up on the board, and it was clear as day, it's time to go back to Steven Adams. Mm-hmm. And he turned back to Steven Adams in the starting lineup. That helped the Grizzlies a lot in that series, even though they eventually lost. So the point being that I think he'll make those tough decisions. How long it'll take, I don't know. Like I won't say that I trust him completely to, if Vince Williams comes back playing with his hair on fire, then he waits till, St. Patrick's Day to finally put him in the starting lineup or something. That wouldn't completely surprise me. But at the end of the day, I trust, especially in the big game, he'll be able to make those decisions. And I think some people don't trust that.
Yeah, no, I agree with that.
So the big Luka trade kicked things off in a crazy fashion. We already see De'Aaron Fox now here this morning. Kyle Kuzma is apparently heading to Milwaukee. Chris Middleton going to the Wizards. In the next, 28 hours and some, do you believe the Grizzlies make a move?
I don't. It's possible. It's not like they're not in the conversation. They are for sure. But here's what I stand, and I feel like the Grizzlies shouldn't make a move unless it's something that really moves the needle.
Yeah.
They don't need marginal moves. They don't need marginal moves because you're marginally. This is the Grizzlies. I'm not speaking for every team, specifically to the Grizzlies because of their youth, because of the injury situation. They are marginally going to get better just by getting healthy and just by younger guys getting experience. G.G. Jackson still hasn't played a full season worth of NBA games in his career. Vince Williams has not done that. Vince Williams is gonna come back. It's probably gonna be a little bit rusty. We're talking about a guy who's played like 7 games in the last 11 months. G.G. Jackson, we just saw him have his breakout game, or however you want to describe it, 27 points the other night. And then going back to like Marcus Smart. Marcus Smart has still only played roughly half a season worth of games with the Grizzlies. Like, there's not a big sample size of what he can do for this team yet. So, with all that being said, I think there's a decent chance that you marginally get better just by those guys being more available. Is that flashy? No, it's not flashy. But when you talk about making a move just to make a move, this isn't the team that could apply to. If the Grizzlies make a move, it needs to be for a player where you say, okay, this player is head and shoulders more impactful than Vince Williams, Marcus Smart, or G.G. Jackson. If that's not the case, I'm not trading some picks and, some other guys on the roster that have pretty much everyone on the roster has made a valuable impact at least a couple games. I'm not trading those guys for, a guy who's probably going to be marginally better than them. And to make that make more sense, I'll go straight to the Dorian Finney-Smith example. Like, when everyone was talking about Dorian Finney-Smith, I'm like, he's a vet. He can come in. He has the playoff experience, all this good stuff. And I'm like, yeah, that's true. But is Dorian Finney-Smith really that much better than what the Grizzlies could get back? Mm-hmm. I don't think so, especially Marcus Smart. I mean, if you look at the totality of their careers, I don't even think he's better than him because Marcus Smart's a great defender. He's had higher height as a defender than Dorian Finney-Smith. And even with his, inefficient shooting at times, he's a solid playmaker. He makes good decisions, overall. And I think he's someone that he's been in those battles. So I'm like, I don't think Dorian Finney-Smith moves the needle for me.
No, look, you're absolutely right. Now, you could argue that Smart's missed more games than he's played in, and Dorian Finney-Smith is playing. There's availability. That's certain. But you're right. I mean, why do something just to do it? They won't do that. But if there's a move to be made that can take this team up another level, then you have to make it. I just don't know if there is anything. We've talked about Cameron Johnson. Right. We're blue in the face. But I don't expect them to do anything. I would be shocked. And the way they've played here lately, too, DeMichael, tends to make me think that they won't do anything. What about the Lonzo Ball thing? That seemed to come out of left field. What about that? Is that just because he has an expiring contract and can help him financially for the future? What does that mean? Are they really interested, or is that just thrown out there by somebody?
No, I think there's some interest there for sure. And the contract, of course, plays a role in that. I mean, he gives you another one of those, facilitators. He's shooting roughly 35% from three-point range this year. But if you go back to prior to that injury, he was really trending toward, elite level, above average NBA three-point shooter. Now he's around the average range. So maybe he'll get back to that. Lonzo Ball, I mean, we know the IQ, like injuries aside, like he's a player, he's going to come in. You talk about a team that struggles with turnovers. That's a guy who's going to come in, make smart decisions. And when you don't have John Morant in the game, you don't have to worry about things going haywire all the time. But
what do you think you'd have to give up? We don't have a lot of time, but what do you think you'd have to give up to get him?
Well, you're talking about a roughly $20 million cap hit from him. Marcus Smart works. You could potentially package a couple others, like a Luke Kennard, John Conchar, and that could be close to making the money work as well. But Marcus Smart probably would be the call for the Grizzlies in that. I don't agree with that one. I'd probably go with a couple other guys, only because I think you should, dangle Marcus Smart in a bigger deal. Like he is the one big cap hit that they still have, potentially for the summer. Like I'm of the opinion that the summer is when the Grizzlies will really explore making that big flashy move that people want to see. And having a contract like Marcus Smart on the books would really help. In addition to him just being probably a more impactful player right now than Lonzo Ball, but Lonzo's been really solid. If he can stay healthy, he missed the last 2 seasons. If he can stay healthy, it's a solid move.
All right, we got you kick-started for your long day, DeMichael. Thank you as always. He's DeMichael Cole, Grizzlies beat writer for the Commercial Appeal. You can follow him on Twitter at DeMichaelC. He joins us every single Wednesday all year long to talk Grizzlies in the NBA, and it could be a very eventful day in the NBA, and it should be, as it's already kick-started with the trade between Milwaukee and Washington. DeMichael, thank you so much. We'll talk to you soon.
All right, take care, guys.
You too.
The details of the trade: the Bucks sending Chris Middleton, A.J. Johnson, and a pick swap to Washington for Kyle Kuzma, Patrick Baldwin Jr., and some second-round draft pick compensation. So Kuzma to the Bucks, Middleton to the lowly Wizards.
Yeah, there's also talk about Jurkic and possibly being shipped to Washington for Valanciunas. For the former Grizzly, but that has not materialized just yet, and other things certainly out there in Rumorville. Corky's Ribs and Barbecue, nothing rumored about that. It's all factual. It is fantastic. Delicious. Slow-smoked barbecue at their 4 locations: Poplar Avenue in Memphis, Poplar Avenue in Collierville, Germantown Parkway in Cordova, and Goodman Road in Olive Branch. You got your big game party this Sunday loaded up with Corky's Barbecue and all the fixins, the cheese and sausage plates. They got amazing desserts as well. If you have an event coming up, a big event you want it catered, they can do it no matter what size it is. They've been catering for as long as they've been around, and that's 4 decades. Corky's Ribs and Barbecue, they're open for lunch and dinner 7 days a week. When we come back, we shift gears, talk Tigers basketball. They're back in action tonight as they host Tulsa. Parthu Pajai from the Daily Memphian will join us. This is Sports 56 Mornings with Greg and Eli on Real Sports Talk, Sports 56 and 98.5 FM.
Broadcasting
Andy Wise here. For 6 years, I've endorsed Pella Windows and Doors of Memphis and the Mid-South as the standard in affordable luxury. Now get this. Pella just got more affordable. 12 months, no interest, no payments on what Consumer Reports has rated the highest quality windows on the planet, plus 50% off installation. That includes consumer guarantees no other window company will ever match. You have my word. You'll make the wise choice when you choose Pella Windows and Doors of Memphis and the Mid-South.
I'm so excited.
I had a feeling you'd be excited.
That doesn't even begin to describe how I feel about the new Central Barbecue location on Central.
Well, technically, it's the same location.
Same location, but a very different Central Barbecue on Central.
I get what you're saying, but I don't want to confuse people. The new Central Barbecue location on Central is the same place as the old Central Barbecue on Central.
But it's so much more. It's big, for one thing.
It is a whole lot bigger. Well, I mean, I think it has to be.
Because everybody in Memphis is going to be flocking to the new Central Barbecue location on Central.
Where the old Central Barbecue on Central used to be.
Details.
For over 8 decades, America's farmers have counted on the little red tractor from Case IH, the farm lawn, to help them make short work of their demanding chores. Mid-South Ag can show you they aren't just for farms anymore. With horsepower ranging from 30 to 105, plus an army of attachments, they can tackle every chore on your to-do list. From hauling and mowing to loading and towing and then some. Stop by Mid-South Ag Equipment or call 662-890-3141 to find a Case IH farm lawn that's right for you.
Radio show is back on WHBQ Sports 56 and 98.5 FM. Every Monday night at 6, hear the latest news on your Ole Miss Rebels with Nancy Porter with 24/7 Sports. Your Ole Miss defensive guy, Mike Fitzsimmons. Gordon Ford covering SEC sports ball. And former Ole Miss baseball announcer Gary Garvey from kickoff hours up to extra innings. Your Ole Miss Sports on the Rebel Yellow Hotline Show. Right here Monday night at 6 on Sports 56, 560 AM and 98.5 FM. Your Mid-South Sports Station.
Now back to Sports 56 mornings on Sports 56 and 98.5
Welcome back, everyone. 9:27 is the time. Tomorrow on the program, Nancy Armour is going to join us. She's the NFL reporter for USA Today. She's in New Orleans for the Super Bowl, so we'll talk to Nancy at 8:05. Kerry Miller on Major League Baseball and college basketball as the two are about to collide, right? We have the pitchers and catchers reporting in just a few weeks to spring training camps in Florida and in Arizona. And men's basketball, obviously, women's basketball as well, right in the heart of things as we get closer to tournament time. And 9:05, Aaron Torres will join us tomorrow to talk all things college basketball as well. Right now, it's time to talk some Memphis Tigers basketball with Parthu Pajai.
It's time to talk Memphis Tigers basketball. Joining Greg and Eli is Parth Upadhyay, the Tigers beat reporter for the Daily Memphian. Now here's Parth with Greg and Eli.
He is the Tigers basketball beat writer for the Daily Memphian. He is Parthu Pajai, who joins us each and every week. How are you?
Doing well. How are y'all?
Doing fantastic. Last week you went down to New Orleans, then on to Houston, and a successful week for the Memphis Tigers. The win over Tulane was tight, and we figured it would be. They had lost 3 straight down there, but pulled out a, I believe, 12-point win.
Yeah.
The game against Rice, though, they had them right where they wanted them and let them get back into the game. And therefore, even though they won, and Penny's right, just keep winning, everything's going to turn out okay. Still, from the net and Ken Palm, it doesn't help when you're not blowing out these teams.
No, especially not a Rice team that, sits in the lower hundreds, right? Like 190, 180 range in all the metrics. When you win by 3 and you turn the ball over 16 times and give up 23 points off turnovers in a game like that, it doesn't help. I know it's on the road. I know that place was rowdy. It certainly got loud. I was surprised by the atmosphere, actually, towards the end of the game.
Really?
I'd never been down there. I'd been to Houston. We talked about this off the air, but I'd never been to Tudor Fieldhouse, Rice's Tudor Fieldhouse. But, when you walk in, it's like a high school-esque type facility, high school-esque gym, right? And it's close to tip-off. It's the national anthem. And you look around, it's kind of empty. And you're like, okay, this is going to be one of those sleepy games with minimal crowd noise and more Tiger fans cheering than the home fans. But then, you get to the kind of nitty-gritty parts of the game where it's, 1 point, 2-point, kind of going back and forth. Rice hits big threes again and again and again. Memphis misses the front ends of 2 1-and-1s, Nicholas Jordan and PJ Haggerty. And all of a sudden, that place is kind of, for lack of better words, raucous. And I know it's a crazy term to associate
really
with Rice
weird
basketball.
to hear you say that about
Rice.
Rice.
It was kind of loud.
But you don't think they were this team has not been rattled. It's the
No,
mistakes
that's not what I'm saying.
No,
No.
I know, but they're making turnovers not because of what the other team is doing. It's because what they are doing. Self-inflicted.
Correct.
It looked like they had rectified the situation the previous few games. So what do you think happened that it all came back?
I think it's the same thing we've been talking about all season. It's like, they seem to have rectified it for 3 games, right? UAB, or 2 games rather.
Couple of games.
At least 2 games. UAB and Tulane, where they had their best assist totals of the season, and some of their lowest turnover totals. But then you kind of get complacent. You look at Rice and you say, okay, Rice is much worse than Tulane and UAB, and there's no real narrative to attach to Rice, if that makes sense. Like UAB, you go into that game and you say, okay, if you're Penny and the staff, you can get the guys fired up by saying, hey, man, they were picked ahead of us. They were picked to win this league. Look at us and look at them, but they were picked to win this league, and the guys can kind of rally behind that. You go to Tulane, and if you're Penny Hardaway, say, my team, no matter who I've fielded on a roster, has struggled here time and time and time again. Ron Hunter has had success against us. Let's prove them wrong. Let's go out and do it. And they did that, right? Their 2 best players scored in single digits. PJ Haggerty had 8 points. Tyrese Hunter had 7 points. And you still win by double digits, win by 12. That's impressive. But then you get to Rice, and after you've accomplished all this, it's a Sunday, final game of the road trip. You're ready to go back home. Like I said, Rice, you look around, it's kind of empty at first. And Rice is just not a good basketball team. We know that. The players know that. And I think when you bring that mentality onto the court and you kind of punch first like Memphis did when they were up, 11 or 12 early in that game, you think the game's over halfway through the first half. And I don't care who you're playing. It's Division I basketball. The game can't be over with 12 minutes left in the first half.
And certainly I agree with all this. Like the concern thing to me would be like they're up by 10 with 2 minutes to go, and they just can't. They can't close games. They tend to let these teams in these final minutes get back into games instead of being able to just close out games.
Yeah, I think that obviously that's a good point. It's the number one concern. I think where I was getting at is that margin that you're talking about, the 10, 12 point lead cushion they had built that in the first 8 minutes, if you recall. Right? Like they came out and they punched like we had been talking about all season. We want these Tigers to punch first. They had done that against Rice. They had them kind of dead in the water. That Owls team had no hope whatsoever. And then you get comfortable and let them back in the game, and all of a sudden it's competitive. But you're right. To your point, although they lost that lead and Rice had come out on top, they gained it right back. It was a game of tug of war. And with 2 minutes left, Memphis was up, I think, 11 or 12 points. Is that right?
They were up 10, I know, with 2 minutes to go.
It was a double-digit lead with 2 minutes to go.
With 2 minutes to go, it was a 10-point game. I don't remember if it was a little bit bigger than that right before that, but at the 2-minute mark, they were up 10.
Okay, I'm looking at it right now. It was an 11-point game with 2:53 to go, which is still a sizable margin against a bad team with less than 3 minutes to go. And you let them come all the way back, and they had a chance to win it.
Yeah, that should be
Carter had to save the day.
That should be a 15-point win. Like that's just
15 to
take
20
care
points.
of business
Yes.
down the stretch. Like and the idea that it comes down to a 1-point game.
You lose your focus. That's what happens. And then Carter has to make those free throws. Yeah. They turned it over, Hunter of all people, and then Carter got the steal and they ended up winning the game. I don't want to make it sound like this is like we're jumping on the bad thing. This is a team that is a 4 seed right now projected in most bracketologies, including Jerry Palm, who was just on with us. This is a team that leads the American Conference. They have done an awful lot of good things. There's a lot of positives that we'll talk about. But again, it's unfortunate that your margin for error is so thin in this conference. Right now, you're sitting pretty. You lose 1 or 2 of these coming in, and it's trouble. Not to get to the tournament, but as far as the seeding. And it's all about now finding your seeding. Right now, it's all about getting the best seeding you can get.
Yeah, I mean, look, obviously this would not happen, but if they were to drop every single game left, they're not making the tournament. But that's not going to happen. They're a near lock to make the tournament as it stands now. We're not talking about making the tournament. That goal, for all intents and purposes has been accomplished, right? With the work they've done in the non-con, the work they've done up to this point in the conference slate. We're talking about seeding right now. We're talking about getting a top 4 seed. Like Penny Hardaway himself said, it's not us making these goals up. He said it back in freaking December. Like our goal now after Maui, he said, was to get a top 4 seed in the Big Dance. That is right there for the
You
for the
want to
taking.
get to the second weekend of the tournament. You want to
Exactly.
be able to give yourself a shot. All right, so this is, and what you had just said previously is something I've been harping on for weeks now. The players themselves, it's one thing for the coach to give them the rah-rah speech before the game. That always, sometimes it goes in one ear, out the other. The players have to find their own self-motivation. So Haggerty's playing against Tulsa tonight.
There we
it's
go.
there, right?
It's
it
right
was there against Rice because he was playing in front of his high school, former mates. I guess they didn't play with him, but some of them may have, and the coach. So there's that self-motivation. But did Dane Dange have self-motivation? Did Musa Cisse going against Rice? No, you have to be able to find it. So tonight you're at home. That should motivate you. But Haggerty's got that extra, I think, pep in the step because he's gone up against his former team. I think tonight, though, this is a bad team, but watch. There'll be times in this game you go, what is going on? Sunday, that's motivation. Their only loss is to Temple, and they got Temple in the return game. That one, I don't think you have to manufacture it. I think it's right there. So these 2 games this week, again, you expect to win both, but again, a little tricky on maybe tonight for a team that's worse than the one you're playing on Sunday.
Yeah, I mean, Tulsa's the worst team in the league by every metric, by Ken Pom, by the net, by the eye test, whatever you want to call it. Tulsa is the bottom of the barrel of a bad American Athletic Conference. So, yeah, that might be tough to get up for. But like you said, we spoke to PJ Haggerty after the Rice game about what this one meant and if he was texting back and forth and kind of friendly trash talking his former teammates that are there back and forth. And he said, yeah, like he was kind of joking and saying like, hey, they're ready to play us now, but we'll see about that on Wednesday. So he's fired up. Can he get that to be contagious among his teammates and among that locker room? I guess that's what we have to wait and see. But you're absolutely right. Temple, like, that's not going to be hard for Penny Hardaway and his staff to push the buttons for on the guys and say, hey, look what happened in Philly. Here's the tape. They kind of embarrassed us. They punched us in the mouth, which they did. They out-muscled them, out-physical them. That's not even a word. But, they kind of punked them. And now Memphis has a chance to kind of get its get back on Sunday.
Should P.J. Carter have been a bigger part of the rotation earlier?
I mean, yeah, I guess in hindsight we can say that, but who? I didn't know. I didn't see this coming from P.J. Carter, right? Like, obviously he had some success last year towards the end of the season with UTSA, where I think he scored, 22 or more points in 3 of his final 8 games with the Roadrunners, but that's on a bad team. So you can look at that and say, okay, that's empty stats for a UTSA team that was struggling, didn't make any postseason, whatever, and you bring him on this team, and he's behind, an All-American candidate in P.J. Haggerty. He's behind Tyrese Hunter, who's a star, right? A college basketball star, we can say. And he's behind Colby Rogers, who's your, 38% three-point shooting sniper. So he's 4th in the guard rotation. Where is there room for him early on, unless you're going to play 4 guards, which Penny's done a lot more of recently, and it's worked. But man, his emergence has been something. And now you look at it, the past 3 games, 14 points, and 19 points against Rice. And now you kind of have to feature him to some extent.
This is not a knock on Penny by any stretch of the imagination. He's playing those guys to give him the best chance at success, and it worked. But he always talked about, I want to get more minutes for them to rest and need somebody to step up. Do you think Carter got an ample chance early in the season to showcase his goods? I mean, all of a sudden now he's this really good player just out of nowhere. Maybe he never really had the fair chance early in the year with the lack of minutes that he got.
Yeah, so I think 2 things with that. One is when you're going through a non-conference schedule that's ranked 4th, according to Ken Pom, like you're not playing guys like P.J. Carter and Baraka Koji and.
But Carter saved him in that Connecticut game, did he not? Wasn't it Connecticut game?
He hit
in Maui?
4 straight free throws in Maui late when other guys had fouled out, right? Like you kind of needed somebody to step up, and he was there.
Yeah.
But I guess my point is, even though he did save them in that Connecticut game, like you're probably not turning back to him against Mississippi State, even though that was an ugly game, against Auburn, against Ole Miss, Clemson. Like you're relying on your quote unquote big dogs. You're playing 7 6 guys, heavy minutes. And then once that calendar turns to January, once you go to Florida Atlantic and you are up by 20-something and, you're playing North Texas, although they struggled in that game, but you get what I'm saying. You're going through the conference slate with, weaker competition. You're kind of trying to expand that rotation and seeing what works where. And that's when I think we saw PJ Carter get early minutes. And in those early spurts in the first halves of some of those games, we saw the flashes, and I'm sure obviously Penny Hardaway did too, which is why he is now all of a sudden a staple of what they're doing offensively.
As we go, if we were right now, let's say it was an NCAA tournament game.
Yeah.
How many guys do you think he's playing?
8, I think, right? So
who's the 8th?
So you got your starters. We know who they are: PJ Haggerty, Tyrese Hunter, Kobe Rogers, Nicholas Jordan, Dane Danger, Musa Cisse, PJ Carter, and then the 8th guy rotates between either Dante Harris or Baraka Okogie. I think you're leaning Harris right now, but Okogie can get the nod too, depending on whose night it is. I guess if that makes sense.
I would say that's correct. So looking forward, you have 9 games remaining in the regular season.
Yes.
What do you think will happen, and what do you think where and who against is the biggest obstacle remaining?
I think the biggest obstacle clearly is UAB.
Yes, on the road, even though they destroyed them at home.
Destroyed them at home, but UAB is going to be motivated. That's a good basketball team, I think we can say. It's not a stretch just to call the Blazers a good basketball team. Metrically, that's the second best team. I'm looking at it right now. Or no, I'm sorry, third best team in the league behind Memphis being first, of course, and then North Texas, and then UAB. You're not playing North Texas again, so you don't have to worry about them.
And UAB just beat North Texas.
UAB just beat North Texas the other night. You embarrassed them at FedEx Forum just a couple weeks ago. They're going to be motivated. And that place, y'all have been there.
Oh, yeah.
It's loud, man.
Bartow Arena.
I was surprised because I knew nothing about UAB before getting this job. And last year was my first time in Birmingham, let alone at Bartow Arena. And you go in there, and it feels like a big-time college basketball atmosphere.
It does.
Right? It's crazy.
UAB likes their basketball.
They really do. And look, I had said before the season, in their conference slate, they're going to lose 2 games, maybe 3. This is exactly what I said, 2, maybe 3. But I'm leaning toward 2. They're going to have a clunker, meaning they're going to have one game where they play horribly. That was Temple. They played horribly.
Yes.
You hope there's not another one. And then they're going to lose one of the 2 to UAB. Now,
do you still feel that way? What do you think now?
I still think there's a second loss coming, and I think if it is coming, it's UAB. If not, they're going to run the table. Now, they may
I think they're running the table.
They may not look good in doing so every one of these games.
Exactly. That's
but
what I was gonna say.
You don't think there's another loss coming?
These teams are really bad.
I know.
Tulsa's really bad at basketball.
They needed a turnover against Rice.
You literally can't lose.
Bad at basketball.
You cannot lose to Tulsa.
I know, but they needed a turnover to beat Rice. Okay.
On your home floor, losing to Tulsa would be like an epic disaster beyond repair.
Where do you have Memphis ranked in your top 25?
I had them at 16th this week.
And they came out 16th, right? 17th. They came out 17th.
Yes,
okay, 16th in the... No, 15th in the
coaches poll, 17th in the AP.
So 17th in the AP.
They were 16th.
Okay,
yes.
we just had Palm on. 3 is not out of the question.
Is that what you said? Okay.
3 you run the table. That includes 9 games in the regular season,
and winning
3 in the tournament at Dickies Arena. That's 12. You're coming into the game tonight with a 5-game winning streak. That would be a 17-game winning streak. Is my math correct?
Yes.
17.
That would be
17 straight wins to end the season.
Wait, I'm sorry. They're on a 5-game winning streak right now.
Yeah,
you're adding 9 to that, so that's 14.
And then 3 more.
And then 3 more, 17.
That would be a 17-game winning streak. There's no question you're a 3 seed.
Probably the worst 3, but a 3 is a 3 is a 3.
Because everybody else is knocking each other off,
exactly.
Except for Auburn and Duke.
I still think that'll be tough, don't y'all think? Like, if let's say they go on a 17-game win streak, and they run the table, but they have to eke out wins against the likes of Tulsa and South Florida and Wichita State and maybe Rice again. It's a close game. UAB is a close game. UTSA, it's a 8-point game. The metrics aren't great. The metrics are in the 40s, right?
Okay.
I think they'll still be a 4. Maybe I'm wrong.
I think it'd be hard to be. I mean,
3 is
if
tough.
you're squeaking those out again, you don't know how those games go.
I think they'll squeak them out. We've seen them squeak them out already.
Again, here's the thing. Like if you look at it game by game, you would say they should win all of these. And
I think they will.
I look at it and go, I've seen this team and what they do. They'll screw one up. They just will.
But against who?
Because
Like,
I don't.
screw up?
Again, you wouldn't pick it out. I mean, UAB would be the one most likely you would pick out.
Sure.
Because it's hard to pick it out individually. But again, you wouldn't think that Rice was going to be a 3-point game, or you wouldn't have picked maybe the Temple Law. It'll just happen because this team, they just have these games where they just don't. They screw up.
I hear what Eli's saying.
They'll turn the ball over 20 times and lose a game.
I hear what Eli's saying. That's why I worry about. I still think there's a loss. I think it's probably at UAB, and I could easily be wrong. But here's the thing. They went to Florida Atlantic motivated. Florida Atlantic last couple of years certainly been a thorn in their side. They destroyed them. They destroyed UAB.
Yes.
They've beaten all these non-conference foes.
Big time.
If you're on the committee and you're just looking strictly at a net number, then you're doing a disservice.
Of course.
You have to look at it and go, okay, all right, they squeezed by some of these games. They squeaked by some of these teams. They won 17 straight to end the regular season. And then you know what?
Yep.
They beat Connecticut. They beat Michigan State. They beat Clemson. They beat Ole Miss. They beat Missouri. Michigan State, Missouri are ahead of them right now.
Yeah, the 17 wins in a row will be 17 wins against teams that aren't anywhere near the tournament.
That's my point.
They're not even close.
But that's what I'm saying. You can't just go metrics. They're going to go, you know what? When they
that's not metrics. That's just
but you know what's factual?
Are any of these teams considered? Are we considering any of these teams for the tournament? No, they're not even close to the tournament.
But what's factual is that they beat the other teams.
Correct.
And they have a
That's also
great
true.
record against Quadrant 1 and Quadrant 2. So it's not like they didn't play those other teams. They did in the non-conference portion of their schedule. What they did in November, December should not be forgotten about by that
But all of
committee.
these other teams that they're competing with for
I'm
that
telling you
3
right
seed
now,
will be racking up Quadrant 1 and Quadrant 2 wins the rest of the season.
And losses, too. I think Memphis has a chance to be a 3 seed. If they run the table, I think they could be a 3 seed.
I think there's an outside chance, yes.
Okay.
I agree.
All right.
I don't think it's likely, but I think there's an outside chance.
Well, because I
yes.
agree with Eli, and you say they're running the table.
I think they can. I think it's not
there's
going to
a
look pretty. I didn't say it's going to look pretty.
Yeah. But tonight, be careful. Again, Tulsa, they're bad. They're bad on paper. I'm doing that game. Just watch out because,
they got some shooters, man. I mean, you've scouted the team.
They got one of the best three-point shooters.
They got 2.
Well, one guy is
really
the top
good shooters.
60 three-point shooter of all time.
All time?
Yes. Willis.
Okay.
Yeah,
I didn't know it was all time.
He's number 58 in all-time three-point shots made. He's number 3 active in
all time in college basketball.
All time in college basketball. In three-pointers made. Remember, college basketball for years and years didn't have a three-point
1986,
shot.
yeah.
Absolutely.
If they lose tonight, they deserve to be a 9 seed. Let's not talk about this. Let's not talk about losing to a Tulsa team on your home floor.
No, they're not losing. I'm saying what's going to happen. There's going to be points in that game.
It ain't Steph Curry. I know that much.
There's going to be points in that game where you go, what is going on?
Yes.
I mean, look,
I will say that, and I'll tweet that.
Florida just played Tennessee, albeit on the road.
Yeah.
Tennessee did not have Ziegler and did not have Milicic.
And
Florida
beat them by 20.
got destroyed. Well, we're not saying, Florida's a bad team now. All right? Yeah,
come on, we're talking about apples and oranges, man.
I
SEC's
know.
good.
But there's the whole motivation. That motivation thing is important when we're talking about 18, 19, 20-year-olds.
You don't have to be motivated to beat Tulsa.
Apparently, you have to be motivated.
To beat it. I mean, yeah.
He almost lost to Rice. All right, good stuff.
Appreciate it, guys.
We'll see you tonight. He's Parthu Pajai with the Daily Memphian. Make sure to read all his great stories there. Listen to him each and every Wednesday right here on Sports 56 Mornings. We'll take our final break. This is Sports 56 Mornings with Greg and Eli on Real Sports Talk, Sports 56, 98.5 FM.
Broadcasting from the Family Leisure Studio, we are Sports 56 and 98.5 FM.
Locally owned and operated for over 40 years, Automatic Gates Construction tailors custom gate solutions for all your residential, commercial, and industrial needs, including repairs, maintenance, and installation. Automatic Gates Construction specializes in designing and installing automatic gates and fencing that seamlessly blends security, functionality, and aesthetic appeal. Elevate the safety and efficiency of your property with a premium gate solution. Automatic Gates Construction at myautomaticgates.com.
With Progressive's Name Your Price tool, you get coverage options based on how much you want to pay for car insurance. And then you decide how to spend the rest of your money, because you're in charge. Today, you're going to pay down your credit card bill. But you decide when you'll pay it. Before the due date, so those interest charges don't get you. But you decide if you pay it in full. But you definitely should, because again, interest charges. Progressive's Name Your Price tool will help you find coverage at a fair price. And you're in charge. Visit geicoinsurance.com. State law. Do you know one of the best things you can do for your employees or family's health? Provide Arctic Clear bottled water. Arctic Clear bottled water is your locally owned and operated bottled water provider. Arctic Clear is 100% natural spring water with free delivery instead of dependable service and no long-term contracts. An easy choice. Call Jeff Matus today. 901-382-2363 or visit arctic-clear.com. Arctic Clear bottled water. Call now 382-2363. That's 382-2363. Now back to Sports 56 mornings on Sports 56.
Welcome back, everybody. 9:50 the time. Always great to talk Tigers basketball with Parth Upadhyay. And, yeah, the Tigers are a team and a program that fires up people, fires up media members, right? I mean, we can get into that discussion. But, again, I hope when the committee, if they do what we say they possibly can do and what Parth says they will do, that committee looks at, and they'll look at the entire resume, but they realize that, we're not going to punish these guys because they had a 4-point win over whoever, insert team in the American Conference. It's just the way it is. This team plays to the level of the competition. They need each individual player to focus on what can motivate them for every single game. Again, tonight. Now, they'll come out and Tulsa will, I don't know, they could try to double team PJ every time he touches the ball. That means other guys got to step up. If that happens, they should be able to run him out of the gym. Doesn't mean that will happen. Sunday, I don't think there's a problem being motivated for the team that just beat you. It's just like UAB is going to be motivated when they play Memphis. Doesn't mean Memphis can't go down there and win. You still have these other games you got to play in conference. A couple of them on the road. That, again, you're going to look for that self-motivation to get yourself fired up. You know what's at the end of the season, a possibility of being a very, very high seed. That should motivate you every single time out to complete what the goals were before the season. They're doing it right now. They're not doing it handsomely all the time, but they're doing it. And that's what Penny talked about after the win over Rice. Just win. Everything will be fine if we just keep winning, keep finding ways to get dubs.
The Showboats have announced their coaching staff. Ken Wisenhunt announcing his staff. Jaron Horton, who was the 2023 USFL Assistant Coach of the Year when he was the defensive coordinator for the Pittsburgh Maulers, will be the defensive coordinator for Coach Wisenhunt. Defensive line coach will be Brian Baker. Linebackers and special teams will be coached by Mark Hull. And Steve Meyer will be a defensive quality control coach. On the offensive side, Jim Turner, who was with the Showboats last year, returns as offensive line coach. TJ Vernieri, who coached the tight ends last year, will be back, and he will be coaching tight ends and wide receivers. Luke Ferdinand will be the running backs coach, and a guy who was a player last year with the Showboats, Lee Morris, will be offensive quality control coach. So that is your coaching staff for Ken Wisenhunt, who obviously will be his own offensive coordinator.
The 76ers have traded KJ Martin and 2 second-round picks to the Pistons. So that moves Philadelphia below the luxury tax. So another small trade. And I wouldn't call the Middleton trade small. Middleton, Kuzma, decent names involved in that trade that we talked about earlier. This one, a smaller trade. And again, we're going to see a lot of things happening throughout the day. I don't know if Butler's going to end up being moved. I don't know. I listened to Windhorst during one of our breaks and what he had to say. And obviously with Beal having the no trade clause, it has to be something that's appealing to him, a place for his destination, if indeed they can find one. And then they have to have still enough assets to be able to make the deal with Miami. What is Golden State going to do? As we talked about, swinging for the fences. Is it even possible to be able to get KD in a trade to bring him back again and make another run? I don't know. I'm not real high on that one happening.
And again with the Grizzlies, we just talked to Michael Cole about it. I don't know if anything will happen. And it shouldn't be one of those deals if they don't do anything that people feel bad about. Oh, gosh, they didn't improve. No, you're only going to improve if you find something out there that makes sense to make you better. Right now, where you stand, is there somebody that will make you better, and are you able to make the deal without mortgaging the farm? That's what comes into play for a team right now who is really, really good. And again, the Grizzlies will be in action tonight. They'll play at Toronto against the Raptors. The Grizz at 34-16. The Raptors, who played last night, lost to the Knicks at 16-33.
Some sad news yesterday that Tiger Woods announced that his mother passed away. She's been at the TGL matches too, and it looked good, but they did not give a cause of death. But sad to hear that the mother of Tiger Woods died. She was 80 years old, and he made that announcement yesterday.
Oh gosh, one of the biggest influences of his life, obviously his father Earl, but that mom was just always there for Tiger, and yeah, it's obviously something that has hit him hard. He was not supposed to play this week, right? In TGL.
No, his team was off last night.
Okay. And when are they scheduled to be back? Because I wonder if this will affect hthink as far as that's concerned.
I'm not sure when his next. They don't have any matches next week. I don't think so. I think it'd be a couple weeks before they would play.
Yeah, hopefully gives them time to grieve after the arrangements for the funeral and to get back to playing in the TGL. By the way, the Grizzlies are a 9.5-point favorite tonight in Toronto.
Well, you got the Grizzlies playing tonight on the road. You got the Tigers, of course, playing as well. If you're not heading down to FedEx Forum, you want to watch both of the games while enjoying some great food and some drinks, head on over to East Coast Wings and Grill out in Bartlett, Wolf Chase area there, right between the Lowe's and Walmart and Wolf Chase off of Highway 64. That's where you'll find East Coast Wings and Grill. They'll have both games on, of course. All the action is always on at East Coast Wings. Plus, great food with 60 flavors of wings to choose from, plus all kinds of other great items on the menu. 24 draft beers on tap as well for you to choose from. It's all at East Coast Wings and a Grill. You can also, if you want to watch the games at home but still enjoy some of that great food, EastCoastWings.com. You can order online to go pick it up, or you can get it delivered via DoorDash as well. However you want to get that great food from East Coast Wings and Grill.
All right, that'll do it for us. Thanks to our guests, Dave Mason from Bet Online, Jerry Palm, to Michael Cole, and Parthu Pajai. Tomorrow, Nancy Armour from USA Today will join us from New Orleans. Kerry Miller from Bleacher Report. Aaron Torres from the Torres Podcast will also join us, and Fox Sports as well. We'll get you started bright and early at 7 a.m. Wolo and Friends on Sports 56 is coming up next. For Eli Savoy and Elijah Seegers, I'm Greg Gaston. Enjoy your hump day, everybody.